All right, welcome on into another episode of DCU Daily. I know, so curious. It is the final DCU Daily episode of the year because, of course, the next couple of days we got the New Year's holidays. If you are watching us live, then we've got a double, a header on deck for you. We've got DCU Daily right now. All the news from, the world of Hollywood. We got MCU talk coming up. We're going to talk about the box office. And we're going to talk about, what's coming up on the channel in the new year as well. And then, of course, after that, stay tuned in. Once we get past the DCU Daily Show, we've got Tier List Tuesday. You guys voted on the topic. We're going to be ranking the 10 best movies of the year, at least what we think are the top 10 movies of 2025. So we're going to talk about all of that and so much more as far as what you're going to see on today's show. Of course, it's in the thumbnail, it's in the title. We have to talk about the Avengers Doomsday trailers. They released the Thor one today, officially online. And then, of course, there's reports of a fifth one. We thought there were 4. Well, there might be 5, and we'll get into that. We'll talk about what did James Gunn say. A lot of different things, and then we'll ask some questions about what DC has in store for us next year. Whether that's Supergirl, Clayface. Is DC taking too much of a risk with some of those projects with smaller budgets? Because they want to save money, but maybe are they making some wrong moves along the way? We'll talk about that, and we'll preview the box office. We'll take a look at how the year was in the at the movies, at the movies, on the movies, at home, in the theaters. We'll get into all of that and so much more. So let's get the show started.
It doesn't seem to matter what I do. I'm always the number 2.
Right, Mister, I need to paint my abs on to get nominated. You don't see Robert Downey doing that.
You're kidding.
You're
kidding. I can't open the envelope without the...
Warner Brothers is heading back into the Matrix with a new movie in the works.
Wonder what other surprises are in store.
I want to be Bruce Wayne.
I like that. You're gonna love me.
There's the shot right there. That.
Okay, we don't need to see chorus.
Right there.
You look ridiculous.
Well, not no more, he don't.
What, dude? I can barely understand you. Your accent's insane.
What the
Give me a hand up. Nope, I'm actually okay. Thank you very much.
Oh, wow. Wow.
All right, okay, it's time for the news. That's how we usually start things off. Of course, I mentioned we're going to get into a lot of Marvel talk, a lot of DC talk, from Supergirl to Clayface to, of course, Avengers Doomsday and the future of the MCU at large. Is Jordan Peele going to be rolling up at Disney's studio backlot to work on a Marvel movie? We're going to get into that and so much more today. It's going to be a packed show. Like I mentioned, this is technically the last DCU Daily of the year because the next couple of days we will not be live because it is the New Year's holiday. So just letting you guys know right now. I'll mention it again later in the show for anybody who's popping in a little bit later. But with that said, this is I just figured I'd pull this one out from.
Also, this sounds fucking delicious, by the way, and I'm jealous.
Speaking of which, John, how are you doing today? How was your
chicken salad guy? But that
Tuesday,
still does sound really good. So
look, anything Monique has always sounds amazing. She's like, it's like an off day. I baked a turkey, and with all the fillings, and got all the sides, and then they got pumpkin pie. But it was an off day. I'm like, it just. Like a slow day for Monique in the kitchen is like an epic day for me in the kitchen. So like
it's like
just
Gordon Ramsay's wet dream for the rest of us.
It's thank you, Monique, for sharing that because
Happy New Year.
Yeah.
Soon, Happy
Hello.
New Year. Not quite there yet, but we're getting there.
We're getting there. We're getting closer. I mean, I don't know if we're too early for even Japan to have New Year just yet. But hey, D. Cole's here. Caleb is here. Hello, everybody.
Will come out. Is if like games become $200 within the next year, and then that's when they'll release it because finally we can release this thing for like $200, which is like essentially they're implying that that's the case, and it's just like why? Anyway, Indie titles, guys. Don't trust AAA crap. Go with indie titles. Like, literally, I was just playing a game yesterday. Oh, dear. So fun. So ridiculous. Me and 4 other buddies were playing this game. It's like $10 on. It's like hours of fun. You don't need GTA 6. You have, like, tons of indie games that you can play that you get for, like, 20 indie games for one AAA game that are all way better than that. So,
it is the price of those games have gone to a point now with the PS5 and like the current generation consoles. It's like you're making an investment in these things. But anyway, before we get too distracted off the top, hello Hunter, happy late Christmas and happy early New Year to everybody. Late Thanksgiving. I think you were a little too late for that, but anyway, thanks for the wishes. Of course, I mentioned earlier we got D Cole in the chat. We were talking to Caleb. Monique is here as well, Mr. NYC81, and anybody and everybody else who's going to be joining us as the show moves along.
No, I'm not
Thank you
pirating, just
for joining in.
Get indie games, support indie games. Goddamn.
I don't know. I don't know if we actually have much gaming news today, but I'm sure we will have some in the new year. So as the show usually goes, we're in the news right now. We're gonna get into some of the news that's going on in the world of the movies. We're gonna talk about the MCU. Then we're getting do quick hits, DCU Daily. Then after that, we've got some channel updates for you guys because we're making some hopefully welcome changes and updates and upgrades to Oh So Curious and DCU Daily and everything else, Tier List Tuesday, Fancast Friday, everything else that you can find on here in the new year. So I just wanted to give you guys a brief preview of that. So stick around till the end for that. Now, with that in mind, John, let's kick the show off as we usually do. We talk about the box office all the time. And it's been an interesting and fun and yet somewhat disappointing year at the box office. And you can look at the numbers today from the Hollywood Reporter. And these numbers are fluctuating.
That's still pretty good by 100 million.
Yeah,
that's good.
Exactly.
Baby steps. All right, we're taking
exactly.
It,
So, like we've talked, I think there were like 2 or 3 times we've talked about it in the past couple of months alone, where the projections were, because initially at the beginning of the year, everybody was like, this is going to be the best year since the pandemic. It was the drive to survive, not the F1, but like survive till 2025 for movie studios.
Right.
What ended up happening was, kind of similar to last year, if you think about it, right? Last year, the first 1/3 of the year, the movies, not a lot of movies stood out. I mean, movies made money, but none of the movies, really, broke through. And then there were a few high-profile misses until Bad Boys for Life came out and like changed the game, right? Like that was the first breakout. Oh, a blockbuster that actually, busted the block, whatever, however you want to say that. And then this year kind of felt similar. You had Snow White miss, you had Captain America, Brave New World sort of missed the mark. I mean, again, they made money, but they didn't make the money to justify their budgets and their marketing budgets. They had other controversies, and they weren't particularly good movies. But those are just the high profile ones. Even like lesser known movies weren't doing very well. And then, I mean, similar to last year, we had a couple of movies come out that kind of pick things up. I feel like if I'm remembering correctly, Sinners was like that movie this year. Sinners was like the first one that really broke through, and then of course a Minecraft movie with Chicken Jockey and everything, and Lilo and Stitch comes in, makes $1 billion. Zootopia 2 now has made $1 billion. Avatar well on its way to $1 billion. But yeah, I mean, even last year we talked about in September, October, things were looking rough because like there's these like dips in the calendar because there's just not enough movies out there, or not enough movies that people want to go see. Like we saw a lot of like high profile prestige projects, even things like then involving one of the biggest movie stars in the world like Dwayne Johnson completely shit the bed, and then like Sydney Sweeney doing a lot of prestige projects. None of them really struck this year. I mean, I also like in some cases the quality of the projects weren't the best. But yeah, and we'll get into the James Gunn talking about Wonder Woman later, Hunter. But again, we're going to get into the DCU talk later. But John, while I've been bearing the lead here, if you go back to that other chart for a quick second, the original projection was this is going to be a $9 billion plus year at the box office. We're talking domestic, so that means North America, that means US and Canada. That's the market we're talking about. And everybody was thinking $9 billion or more. That would be the best since the pandemic years. Well, then the numbers were brought down, and then they kind of went back up a little bit. Then they were teetering on the edge, and it looks like finally, because now we're sitting on the penultimate day of the year, 8.874. Like you said, John, that is still pretty much 130 or just about 130 million dollars more than what 2024 came in at. So it's an improvement on 2024. So it still is, better than 2024, but it's not quite 2023, which still I think holds the high mark since the pandemic. So, and that of course was the year Top Gun Maverick came out, and a couple other big ones as well. But your reaction to this? I mean, even in a year when Avatar is out, Avatar Fire and Ash has gone off to a good start, but it is, as the weeks have gone on, it's going to its third weekend. It's starting to fall a little bit behind where Avatar: The Way of Water was. It sort of got off to a slower start, picked things up, and now so we'll see how much legs it has. But your thoughts on this? Like, do you think this year was disappointing as a whole at the domestic box office, or do you feel like with the movies that we have seen and that have come out in theaters, that this number is justifiable? That it's a slight bump from last year, but it's not quite $9 billion.
I think it's the fact that it is a little bit better shows that the improvements are there, but obviously it would have been nice to see it be 9 billion plus, but I'll take the slight wins with what we can get, and this is a slight win. It's not the biggest win, but it's it's like, the idea of like losing weight, where you're not it's like you have the ultimate goal, but then you have the little goals, so that the ultimate goal doesn't seem so scary. That's what I view this. Like, okay, you got to lose 100 pounds. That's very daunting. Well, let's try to lose 10 pounds. And I think this is like that little tiny win. So I'll take it. It could be better, but 100 million is still a lot of money. That's still a lot of fucking money. And, $130 million, still a lot of money. So I think that's pretty good.
It is. It is. And like you said, it's a marginal improvement word. It's not 9 billion, but it's also sitting pretty close to 9 billion. And who knows, maybe the people will show up in droves between now and the new year, which is the next 24 hours, if that, depending on when you're watching this. But yeah, so if you look at the top 10 right now, Avatar is still sitting at the top, having a pretty good run, and already going past 200 million domestic. Zootopia 2 already passed 300 million. So Disney is definitely eating good. Marty Supreme got off to like the best start, I think, for A24 ever, with 28 million roughly. I think it was expanding to a wide release. It would already in limited release in LA and New York for a week before that. Anaconda, of course, we talked about, got off to a decent start. A SpongeBob Square movie, The Search for SquarePants, that started off to a decent number. Even movies that not a lot of people showing up to, they're still making $20 million. The Housemaid's still there. And Song Sung Blue, which might be an Oscar contender, coming in the top 10 as well. Wicked for Good, while now dropping pretty precipitously, it's still in the top 10. And while Zootopia 2 will probably pass it for domestic, tally, ultimately, it's still pretty close. And Five Nights at Freddy's 2, you know what? Another great year for horror movies. Probably the best one in a long time, I think we've talked about. So, with that in mind, let's kind of like now start going, because this is North America we're talking about. Let's kind of switch gears for a second, because you guys let us know in the comments what you think about, the domestic box office. $9 billion is what they were predicting, the best, tally since the pandemic. Didn't quite happen for North America. But I just wanted to, and this may seem a little random, but I think it's kind of reflective, again, of how much influence Hollywood movies have in other parts of the world. So let's go and check out a couple of other countries in other parts of the world and see how well they did. Because John, if you have the chart for Spain, let's talk about that quick, because the Spanish box office dropped by 8% this year. And it just became this situation like we were talking, Monique was mentioning, like by October, it was looking rough. There were times where, there were not as many movies out there. And in Spain, they were saying on Variety, October felt more like spring than it felt like, autumn or fall weather. So that, in addition to the fact that there weren't really a lot of big American movies, the Spanish box office kind of had a bit of a dip. So, and that affected the overall number for the entire year, down by 8%. Are you surprised by this? I mean, I've looked at some of the other countries. I mean, again, we can't go through every single one. Just as an example, and we'll get into more Asia, especially China, in a second, Monique. But John, talking about Europe, I mean, which is a big English-speaking market where a lot of Hollywood movies do really well. Spain being an example, sort of a representative in this case of a lot of other countries. Do you think that lack of movies in that September October region? Remember when we talked about that? Like, why release Tron Ares when they did? Like, it seemed like there were a couple of big movies packed together. Again, Tron Ares not being maybe the best example, but it just seemed like there were just no movies out for like 3 weeks in September, and then in October, November, there were a couple of weeks where everything was just packed together. Like, do you think the studios should have spread the wealth a little bit more across the calendar so that maybe more of these movies could have made money? Or do you think that wasn't the reason why, like, that September, October months, we had that huge dip, which was pretty much across the world?
Yeah, it seems like kind of what Monique is saying. It's just like it seems Europe is slumping because, I mean, China is kind of the easy go-to of like, oh my God, biggest population, biggest moneymaker. But Europe has just kind of been like kind of teetering, and I guess maybe this is a good example of showcasing that. Maybe it's kind of similar with the rest of the points in the union, but like I think it shows that like. I think it's just like cultural basis to basis. Like, I just think like for Spanish audiences, it just didn't hit like culturally. Maybe it just didn't hit like the way that they were hoping. Like, because a lot of people were like, oh, Superman is going to hit worldwide, and, being a very American symbol, it did not. So that could be the case here as well. And I don't know, just Spain got hit with this huge, huge, it seems bigger, it seems smaller than it is, but it's actually bigger with like this 8% drop, whether you call it big or small.
Yeah, which again, I mean, 8% is, I didn't look at the exact number, but like 8% would be like, kind of, we talked about the domestic box office, North America, like $130 million. That's not 8% of, almost 9 billion, but it might be small margins, but it does have an effect when you're talking about, oh, this was meant to be the best year since the pandemic. Let's switch over to China, because I thought this was really interesting. I came across this on Reddit, usually not looking for news on Reddit, but I think there's some good analysis there from folks. So Monique was mentioning Asia was on fire, and she's not wrong. I mean, in China, we talked about Zootopia 2 absolutely flying, and now so there was a bit of a drop. Remember, we were talking about, just for context sake, Zootopia 2 had opened so well. It had the best opening in China, I think, since Avengers Endgame, and they were projecting at one point it was going to beat Avengers Endgame's record in China ultimately after it finishes playing there. But then for like a week or two, it seemed like maybe it was going to dip a little and not quite make that number. Now, according to the latest numbers, John, not only is Zootopia 2 gonna, if the projections hold up, catch up and beat Avengers Endgame, Avatar Fire and Ash is also doing really good business. Like, it's as of Tuesday, it made over $100 million. This is US dollars, 2.3 million in Chinese yen. So you're looking at two Disney movies just killing it at a time when a lot of Hollywood movies just don't do well in China anymore. And it just seems like, I mean, Avatar has always done well, so we knew Avatar was going to do well, but then Zootopia 2 also doing really well. And then, like Monique is saying, it's not just China. India is expanding. It's a growing market. And while India and China have very robust domestic, film production industries, and you have like, Bollywood and like all the Collywood, Tollywood, like the many different iterations of Indian cinema. And of course, China's film industry is huge now, and they have a lot of local blockbusters as well. But you could tell people still want to, show up and show out for these big event films. It just happens to be that, like DC put out a Superman movie, which tends to, despite the fact that they, wouldn't tell you like it's an American hero, it has those overtones. So maybe that's why nobody showed up for Superman. And there's, Jurassic World did relatively well, and not quite what it used to do. In the past, DC has done well in China with like Aquaman, but we'll see like how these other movies next year do in China. And we know in China specifically, not they have a limit on the amount of movies that allow from Hollywood to begin with. So so the Hollywood studios have to be very selective with what they want to push in that market in the first place, and you have to share your profits. I mean, South Korea and Indonesia are also growing markets. I mean, especially Indonesia has huge population down there. So all of this together, I think, is pretty amazing to look at, because again, in a year where we were talking about China is debt to Hollywood, Hollywood is debt to China, it just looks like the folks in the Middle Kingdom, as they call it, showing up to Zootopia 2 to record-breaking levels. Like, now is back on track to beat the Avengers Endgame record, which we'll see how much, that holds, or how long that holds for, because for all we know, Avengers Doomsday might come and beat that record next year if the hype continues to be what it's been, or at least building up to, and we're going to get to that in a moment. But yeah, Zootopia 2 and Avatar Fire and Ash just doing great in the Middle Kingdom at a time when a lot of other big blockbusters just, fail to hit the mark. Figure Drawing coming in to the chat. Hello, Figure Drawing, saying Lilo and Stitch was good. Kids and parents exist. Fun fact. Yeah, look, here's the thing. Not all movies are made for everybody, right? So, like, Caleb, like, Lilo and Stitch is not a movie. I think, like, you could say I am not the target audience for Lilo and Stitch, even though I love Lilo and Stitch, especially, like, the way Stitch is in this movie this year. But, like, Elio was a great movie for kids as well, but that didn't perform as well as maybe Pixar would have hoped for. So yes, there's a number of factors that play into all this, and not everybody in the world is gonna. The movies are subjective. They're art form, right? It's an art form, so you're gonna walk in. It's kind of like you walk into an art gallery and there's a new show on. You're not gonna connect with every piece on display. You might really love a few of them. You might hate a couple of them, and then there might be a couple that you're like, I don't really, think about these one way or the other. Like, if this was here, I wouldn't miss it if it wasn't here, but it's also not very impressive. That's kind of how people feel about movies, and you were clearly seeing that here. Hello, Mario. How are you doing today? Thank you for joining us live. But yeah, I mean, and look, Pixar movies and pretty much every movie, like, just because they have a target audience doesn't mean they can't connect with you. That's the other thing too, Figure Drawing, right? You could love, like, Pixar movies are famously known for connecting with people of all ages.
A lot of people seem to forget. So, yes, there are things made for kids, like really little kids, like something like Paw Patrol. That's made for kids. That is early development, toddler size. That's not. I mean, it's technically art, but the thing about people forget about they give the fucking. I get it. It is for younger audiences. However, first off, exactly, good entertainment is good. Saying it's for kids, it's for kids, it's for kids. Just, like, does that mean we have to give them shit? Like, it's for kids. Give them the garbage. It's like, no, honestly, I would say try harder to give them, they're in development, they're learning things, emotions, and like thought processes, and how they extrapolate, how they do, like, certain things. You have to give them a lot of stuff, and don't poo-poo it. It's for kids, it's for kids. Here you go, heathens, you get the garbage. It's like, no, that's not a good excuse. I get that it is technically still made for younger audiences, but at the same time, we shouldn't give them slop because, they don't understand higher knowledge. It's like they don't understand the higher knowledge yet, so you have to give them things to get you grow up with so the movie, they learn and become smarter and smarter. And movies are a good way of doing that because, you're watching a movie. You're not stuck in school behind a desk in a fucking, cold... It's just, Bluey's another good example. That's a great example. But, like, I'm talking movies, but not TV. I'm talking about movies specifically. But then at the same time, the thing about animated movies is they're not just made for kids. Now, I'm not talking about, like, Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio. That's older audiences in mind. I'm talking about, like, old school Disney movies, like Robin Hood and Cinderella and Alice in Wonderland. Those, sure, have a kid's thought in mind, but the thing is, a lot of people forget that at a point, animated movies and movies with younger audiences in mind, yes, they have younger audiences in mind, but they were made for all ages because G was general audiences. A lot of people think, G, that means kids. No, G is literally everybody.
General audiences.
E for everyone. that's a gaming thing, but still, that's the thought process.
That's the
here.
idea. Yeah.
And I get what, like, I'm not trying to figure drawing. I completely understand what you're saying because I kind of agree with you. I just, you know, I get what you're saying, and I'm not trying to poo-poo what you're saying because kind of agree with you. It's just like this is more of a broader sense, and it gets me kind of riled up. But I just hate it when people. Not you, figures. I'm just like other people, like Jimmy Kimmel at the fucking Oscars. Oh, who got their kids to fucking vote on the ballot this year? Fucker. All right, says the guy who did blackface. All right, yeah, shut the fuck up, Jimmy. But like that's the thing I'm talking about. Like the whole like, oh, it's made for kids. Don't try as hard. Animation is for kids. Because it's only one designated audience when the whole point of Pixar is that it's broader and it's like it shouldn't only be for kids. Yes, Elio is mainly for children, but we shouldn't parents shouldn't hate the experience either because you know the kids have to get there to the movie theater. They can't drive, they can't walk, they had to get there somehow. So, you know, it has to be general. That's the thing. A lot of people forget it has to be general. And I feel like corporations who are making these movies also forget it's general audiences, not just kids. That's why Paranorman's my favorite animated movie of all time because it's made for everybody.
It's true, and look, you can't quite walk the line with every movie because not every movie is going to be for every
I get what you're saying, figure drawing. It kind of reminded me of my argument, hence why I wanted to talk about it now.
Yeah, exactly. Because the thing is, look,
you're good. I'm not shitting on you.
The Lilo and Stitch remake is there because Disney knows, and they knew that people will come out to see it.
We love you
because there's an audience for it.
For your comments, always.
Yeah. By the way, if you guys want to know any more, if you want to go any more in depth about John's philosophy on why kids' entertainment should be held to even higher regard than it is, by somebody by a company like Pixar or, we should be doing better for kids and giving them more credit.
I agree.
Go watch the rant John had on the Jurassic League episode of DCU Daily from years ago.
I'm glad it's not happening anymore, but it's just like, dude.
But yeah, hey, Emo Nerd Girl, how are you doing today? Just joining in the right time. But John, let's kind of switch over because we were just talking about the Chinese box office and we got into sidetracked a little bit. But we have a couple of more nuggets in terms of box office report. So
there we go.
We've talked about the year's box office, overall domestic box office, North American box office. Came in a little bit under what they were expecting.
Zootopia.
I like it. I love that. But while the domestic box office is gonna come in under $9 billion, which was the expectation, and it's still an improvement in 2024. And Spain, we mentioned, and a lot of other European countries are slightly down or more or less even with last year. China's doing well with some Hollywood movies. But you look at this is an interesting nugget. It goes to me, this here from exhibitor relations, but they provide good information from what movies are making money at the box office. These numbers are from Monday, and you look at this top 8, and it's a pretty healthy mix. It's a monstrous Monday for $1 million movies. Now it's a holiday season, so more movies are gonna get that holiday rub because more people are out of office because they're taking vacations with their families. More kids are out of school, so there's more people going to the movies as a whole. And as a result of that, you get 8 movies that made at least $1 million on this past Monday, which was yesterday. Avatar 3, of course, made $11 million, the only one to make more than $10 million. But then Zootopia 2, which has already been playing for 3 or 4 weeks, is coming in at over $5 million. Then you got Marty Supreme, which they spelled wrong, but The Housemaid. I don't actually know what David is. I forget. Is that just that's
the David and Goliath movie?
David and Goliath. Of course, Anaconda from Sony's, the new SpongeBob SquarePants movie, and Wicked for Good, all making at least $1 million. So that's a pretty healthy Monday. And again, for anybody out there, for maybe a Tess Sarandos or anybody who I don't still quite believe that he is all about that theatrical life. So look, if you make it or if you build it, the people will come. If you build it, they'll come. That's the whole thing. And I know this is a holiday time of the year, But well, we've been waiting to go live with you, Emo Nerdgold. Thank you for popping in, and we appreciate that you were waiting for the show. But yeah, the point I was trying to make is people will go watch movies when there are movies to be seen at the movie theater, and you have to give them a reason to go see these movies. The biggest thing here, John, you look at these 8 movies alone. Again, this is just a very specific stat from domestic box office from Monday, this past Monday, yesterday, from when we were live. All 8 of these movies are quite different from each other. Even SpongeBob and Zootopia, you can't quite say they are very similar, even though they're both animated movies. And from Avatar and on, that takes place in an alien moon, all the way to Marty Supreme, which takes place in the 80s, about like some young Jewish table 50s. Tennis player, 50s, to Wicked for Good, which is just based on like a play or the book or the class. Anyway, it's the variety is there. There's something for everyone, and I think that's really what we need more of for more parts of the year. Like, and then again, Stranger Things is going to have their finale with the 2-hour-long movie episode, which we'll talk about in the quick hits because they dropped a trailer for that today. But John, your thoughts on this again? Do you feel like the solution to Hollywood's problems is partly they need to put more movies? Because again, this is a theme for this whole segment, like more movies, more variety of movies, and obviously make good movies. We don't just purely want quantity, but if you make them and you put them in theaters, people will go watch them, right, John? Because that's what these numbers tell me.
Yeah. I think it's just you need to have an equal balance. Like if you have like 10 movies coming out, I know studios have more. I think you should have at least 3 to 5, like I would say, okay, 3 supremely big blockbusters. Your Avatars, your Marvels, your Star Wars, your DC, your that stuff. That should be your big shit. Then, to play it safe, to have 2 mid-range movies. I know mid-range movies are kind of going the way of the dinosaur right now, and they're not the best, but I feel like
but when done right, there's good examples.
Right, it can be good.
Yeah.
That's why I say 2 to like play it safe, and then have like 5 indie movies, horror movies, raw like dramas, like really tiny, like just like stripped down, teeny tiny indie movies that aren't technically indie movies, but like that should be your that should be the range of how you do it. Obviously, the percentages change, but I would say like 50% indie, quote unquote, and then like 35% like big blockbusters to fund all that stuff that is going to make money, like Doomsday or something like that. And then 15%, I think I'm doing the math right for that one. Yeah, 15% would be for like mid-range movies, because mid-range movies are more of a risk nowadays. So I would say keep that to like 1 or 2, maybe 3 if you're feeling frisky, because those are risky right now. So I would say keep them small, but keep them made. So then you can maybe have like a wider range of stuff, and it's not just the onslaught of like all the remakes, all the sequels, all the franchises. Right. It's just like, yeah. And hey, corporations, stop being assholes to mom and pop theater companies, because that's also a thing that's killing movie theaters. I was not aware of this. I'm just going to bring it up now since we're talking about this. But this is, I forget who it was. I think it was Pop Culture Brain. He does a lot of like shorts. He does a lot of really good like news stuff. I would recommend checking him out. But he had this one where it's like, the reason that mom and pop shops are kind of like losing money is because a lot of bigger corporations like Disney and Warner Brothers and Universal are forcing a lot of these movies that don't make money to be in theaters for longer, which you would think, oh, that's great, because then like they have wider range, but it's just like these mom and pop shops only have like 1 to 2 screens. So if they're airing Tron Ares for 2 weeks and they're forced to do that, they can't show any other movie during that time, then they're fucked, because this movie that's not making money is, still stuck in theaters. So then they'll go to a bigger chain or they'll go to somewhere else and then they lose money. So there's that as well. So that's like also a really big thing that people aren't really aware of, that I think people need to be more aware of, because that's also screwing over a lot of like really small places that are unfortunately have to close, because then AMC and Regal are losing money, and then you can't even mention the mom and pop shops that are like still closing its doors still to this day, which really stinks.
No, absolutely. And Disney is actually one of the worst offenders of that. It has been over the years. I don't know if they hold the same amount of sway as they used to in the 2010s, but I've talked about this before. Like, it happens, and Disney's not the only one to have ever done this. And thank you for checking in on both of us, Emo Nerd Girl. We're just, we're trying to keep up with the holiday season. I'm sure as all of you are. Hello, Kevin, in the chat. Folks isn't showing up and support every film at the theaters, that major IP films. Yeah. We've talked, this is a whole philosophical conversation we can talk about at length, but I wanted to kind of finish up the box office report quickly. If you want to go to that last, I think it's a little fun stat, being a relative term, John. But I saw this chart somebody put together, and it's kind of significant. The highest grossing trilogies of all time. Now, the Avengers movies are not on here because they're not really a trilogy. We're about to get our fifth Avengers movie next year, so they don't really count. But that's why that's missing. But when you look at it,
count either. So.
Well, as of right now, it does, because until they make the fourth one, and then James Cameron keeps saying the story here is pretty concise. Whatever happens in fourth might have a time jump, or it may just pick up and then go in a different direction. Anyway, but as of right now, Avatar has now become the highest grossing movie trilogy of all time. And then this again just reinforces the idea of do not ever doubt James Cameron. It may very well be possible that Avatar Fire and Ash does not make $2 billion. I think the way it's making money is going to get to probably 1.5 billion. It could definitely, outdo Zootopia 2. I wouldn't doubt that, especially with all the Marvel promotion that's, just giving it that extra push we'll talk about when we get to MCU Weekly. But John, are you surprised? Because you got Avatar at the very top of the list, and the next closest one is the Star Wars trilogy, and of course, in this case, we're talking about the sequel trilogy, because these numbers aren't adjusted for inflation, because if you do that, then it's a whole another can of worms, and then you can include like the original Star Wars trilogy in there, because those movies probably made like humongous amounts of money. But you got the prequel trilogy in there, not adjusted for inflation. You've got the Dark Knight trilogy actually, coming in only at number 10. The Spider-Man trilogy coming in at number 9. The Hobbit trilogy, the Deadpool trilogy now heavily weighed by, almost half of that number for the Deadpool trilogy comes from Deadpool and Wolverine. Of course, you got the Lord of the Rings. You got a second Spider-Man trilogy in there, of course, the one with Tom Holland in the MCU, making almost $4 billion, and again almost half of that from the third movie in the trilogy, No Way Home. Of course, Lord of the Rings, you can't not include that, because it's almost made $3 billion, averaging almost $1 billion a piece. But James Cameron has he has 3, if you include Titanic, 3 of the 4 highest grossing movies of all time, and now the highest grossing trilogy of all time. Does that surprise you? Because for me, it was like only a matter of time, considering how much money the first 2 made. Like, this Avatar movie didn't even have to make $1 billion for this to become the highest grossing trilogy ever. And now everything from here is just gravy. Like, this is going to be a $6 billion franchise with just 3 movies. Like, they're going to average $2 billion a piece. Like, that's crazy. Like, your thoughts on this? Is it surprising at all to you, despite everybody, who doubts James Cameron?
No. People love it. So even if it's there's no culture regarding it, people still love it. So
well, but again, here's the thing though. Like, I don't think it's cultural relevance. I think can be defined in many different ways. And by the way, Filmology, hello, how are you doing? I don't think the upcoming Lord of the Rings movie is going to make $1 billion, but it's too early to tell. We haven't seen anything from it. We don't even know really what the story exactly is going to be. But Avatar has a cultural imprint, right? It's just not like, it's not the kind of thing where you're collecting merchandise and buying action figures and like, from a merchandising standpoint, it's not quite there. We know that Disney made like an Avatar themed part of one of their theme parks, and it didn't do really well. So obviously, as a movie experience, people love it, but and people are aware of it and know what it is, and they go in droves and see it multiple times every time a new movie comes out. It's just not the kind of franchise that's going to have a Marvel, Star Wars, DC level of impact, where people are, basically dressing up as Darth Vader or have a Superman themed bedroom or something like that. They're not doing that because it's Pandora. So that's all right. But, by the way, also Avatar 4 and 5, whether they happen or not, James Cameron is going to give us the story. So figure drawing, don't you worry. I think we're going to get the fourth one, because even if this thing doesn't make 1.5 billion, Disney would be dumb to not get a guaranteed another $1 billion movie on their schedule that James Cameron has already shot bits of when he was shooting the second and third movie. So it's not even like they're starting from scratch. But anyway, that was the box office report. I think we probably spent a little too much time on it, but nonetheless, with that, guys, let us know in the comments down below what you think about it. This is the last box office report of the year, because we're going to be coming back at you on Friday in the new year in 2026, talking about what's in store for what's going to be an epic 2026 in the movies. But in the meantime, let us know in the comments what you thought about the box office for 2025. Disappointed? Were you underwhelmed? Did you have the time of your life at the movies this year? And do you think the numbers are what you expected them to be? Or did they underperform, or did they overperform by your expectations? Let us know in the comments down below. But right now, we're going to move on to the next topic. Of course, we got to talk about the MCU, because literally every other thing right now that comes up on my news feed has to be something related to Avengers Doomsday. And while I'm 100% convinced that Marvel has been leaking out these trailers like clockwork every week before they show up in theaters, John, it looks like we're not just going to get 4 Avengers Doomsday teaser trailers, which aren't even teaser trailers, and they might not even be in the footage from the actual movie, depending on, who you believe. There's now going to be potentially a 5th one, so let's dive in. I just want to dive into that real quick.
There were kind of rumors that there would be. They was kind of going back and forth.
But people thought that might be like an actual trailer,
Right. I was talking about this the other day, how there were initial rumors that, the trailers were going to go this way, and then they were like, no, those rumors are false, and then they were going to go this way, and then half of that turned out to be false, and it turns out the second half of the initial rumor mill was true. Why'd you get rid of me? So, so there was that, because there was a whole thing, initially it was going to be New Avengers, X-Men, Fantastic Four. Then they're like, no, that's bullshit. It's going to be, there's going to be that we got the Captain America, Thor, then it was going to be Loki, then Doctor Doom, and then a full trailer, and then the second half turned out to be bullshit, and then it turned out the initial one of X-Men and Fantastic Four turned out to be correct. So, maybe they changed it because they were like, oh, nobody cares about New Avengers and Avengers right now. They care about Fox X-Men. So, we need the nostalgia bait for the Fox X-Men. Let's go. So, it turns out that was all true. So, as many as they will need to get to $3 billion, all right?
As many as are necessary. But the big story today was that the 5th trailer, more or less confirmed, because we got a runtime from the Korean Film Board, the Korea's media rating board, and these are, basically they don't have any dog in the fight necessarily. They're just giving you a rating, and as part of the rating, they give you the runtime of the trailer that might play. They don't even give you really the details of what the trailer is going to be about. It's just going to tell you what movie it's for, and it looks like that's how this information leaked, because there will be a 5th Avengers Doomsday teaser trailer, which again probably another montage or set of just shots just stuck together with some kind of narration like what we've been seeing so far, and it's going to be 1 minute 5 seconds, which by the way I think is going to be the shortest one so far, and for something that Marvel has yet to officially address at any capacity, to the point when they upload them to YouTube, they don't even say Thor teaser, Steve Rogers is returning. It just says Avengers Doomsday, releasing December 18, 2026, and then it's the video. And now we've got 2 of them, because they put the Thor one online today. I don't think that first of all, I think that the Marvel's leaking these themselves. It's just too consistent. Like, it comes out like every Sunday or Saturday, whatever, like literally a couple of days before it's meant to be anywhere. And while I don't think these are real trailers, I agree with you, Eugene, that the actual first trailer is going to be probably releasing around Super Bowl time in the US and everywhere else, like around February, if you guys are not from the US. So we talked about that yesterday. John, the speculation now becomes, what is this fifth one going to be about? Because so far we've gotten Steve Rogers, we've gotten, of course, Thor, we've gotten the X-Men one, which I know you didn't have the same reaction I did, but literally I did not expect it to, but I was like, chills, literal chills. Because, like, and I'm not the biggest Cyclops fan. To me, the biggest, I mean, obviously seeing Cyclops being like his OP self was great for however short amount of time it was. I just loved seeing, I was like, I love Patrick Stewart and Ian McKellen's Professor X and Magneto. So I watched that thing 5 times. I thoroughly enjoyed it. And the nostalgia hits and I'm like, okay, fine. It's working for me, despite the fact that it might be creatively bankrupt, but it's working for me. So from there, we know that they're going to have a fourth one, which we have kind of talked about. Maybe it's going to feature the Wakandans, the Fantastic Four, which would be kind of like, oh yeah, it's a fourth teaser with Fantastic Four. Oh, see what they did there? But like, John, this fifth one, which is going to be a minute 5, which again, probably the shortest of the bunch. What do you think is going to be about? Is this the Doctor Doom one? Or do you think they're going to kind of give us the, I don't know, the jump phase, the whatever the term might be, the red herring, the blue herring, and maybe go in a different direction, and we don't actually get to see Doctor Doom until like an actual trailer? Like, or do you think this is Doctor Doom time to shine in the fifth one?
I was gonna say what Caleb just said. Maybe they're gonna go with Loki, because that was one of the initial.
That was one of the reported
secondary,
ones. Yeah,
rumored trailers. So they might be going with that. So I'm curious to see, but like I don't think it's gonna be Doctor Doom just yet. I think they're gonna wait for like a tease at the end of the full length trailer. So that's my question.
Yeah,
that's my idea.
If they do give Loki his own trailer, that would automatically just increase the level. Like, to me, these things are just telling us how important these characters are going to be in the movie, whether they survive the movie or not, like however things play out. It tells you like these are going to be significant, players in the story of the film. So if Loki shows up, then that only confirms that Loki's got a big part to play in the movie itself. I also think, look, as far as the hype thing goes, like this hype train, how are they going to sustain that? Like Monique is saying, from now till next December, literally a year from now. Believe me, this is telling us something that I don't think was thought was possible, which was the amount of money that Disney spent on the Avengers Endgame marketing campaign was the biggest marketing campaign of all time. Like, there was nothing, like, they spent $500 million marketing the movie alone, not to mention making the movie. So when they made $8 billion, like, they still made a lot of money in profit. They could have made a lot more. And you might think like Avengers Endgame did not need that kind of marketing money, but that's what they did. I think the marketing campaign for this movie, because of how important this is going to be for Marvel, like, I think one of you guys in the chat were like, they're taking this really, really seriously. I think it was Eugene or somebody said that. This goes to show you, Marvel doesn't intend to let up. And hello, Ron, how are you doing? Marvel's going to keep pushing the shit out of Avengers Doomsday all year next year. This is going to be like The Rock and John Cena building up to their WrestleMania match after the first match into the rematch, where literally like every 3 weeks, one of them shows up to do a promo or they have a back and forth, and then that sustains the hype for an entire calendar year. So that will probably mean this might have a bigger marketing campaign. I don't know if it's going to deliver the box office results of Endgame, but I think that's how they sustain the hype, to answer your question, Monique. But yeah, they're not letting up. The fact that we went from having 3 to 4 to now 5 of these teaser trailers, that alone, I think, is indicative of that. But John, let's move on to the next thing, because the Russo brothers today chimed in a little bit, because they released the Thor trailer, officially online. And by the way, the Super Bowl is February 8th next year, so that's when we were expecting the actual first trailer for Doomsday. But speaking of Doomsday, John, and we're gonna get to the WBD bidding war and the whole thing with Paramount later, Emo Nerd Girl. So don't worry, we haven't gone to that yet. But speaking of Doomsday, they released the Thor trailer officially online, so you get a high resolution look at Thor. You get a look at Love, and there's Love and Thunder, his actual daughter. Somebody make Yush a sandwich. He seems to be hungry, probably starving. But John, the Russo brothers kind of chimed in. They shared the trailer, and if you scroll down, their message was kind of specific because I believe they were using a different hashtag when they were last marketing this movie using tweets. I forget what it was called. It was like Doomsday is coming. Now they posted this trailer on their Instagram account, the Thor teaser, saying when even a god has to pray for strength, ... hashtag fear doom. Your thoughts on this, John? Does that mean that again, they're gonna really build up Doom? Is Doom about to like knock off a few Avengers along the way? Is he gonna be truly that Thanos level villain? Can they do that despite the fact that we have never seen Doctor Doom in a single other Marvel project up until Doomsday? While Thanos had a lot of like little hints, and to the point we got like a couple of post-credit sequences, and he had a big role. He had a significant role, like more than just a cameo in the first Guardians movie. Can they get Doom to be as big, if not bigger? Is that the intent here? Fear Doom.
It seems like it. I hope that's the case, because there were the rumors we were talking about yesterday, that they were gonna, Doom is gonna be like a hero the whole time, only for obvious twists to come in, and that he's the villain the whole time. And I just hope Doom is actually the villain, and not just whole like, oh, he's a hero, he's a sympathetic villain. Just make him an asshole. Make him a villain. Fear him. All that shit. That's all we can hope for.
Yeah, I mean, to me, this would be... I'm not saying do the same thing all over again, because I don't want to have them just completely repeat what they did with the... I think it was the Infinity War trailer. It's the whole, like, the idea of, like, the end is... Oh, something like the... It's, what is it, like, dread it, fear it, dread it. It's like, the end comes. It's like, basically the idea that Thanos was inevitable. Like,
Recording
basically
in progress.
comparing... Like, Thanos compared himself to, like, God, in a sense. Hi, Game Freakness, saying I should have said Thor loses power so he becomes human. Well, we'll see if that happens. But it's going to be interesting to see if they actually get it to that point. Because they're certainly trying to like put all their eggs in this one basket, and we'll see if that actually ends up paying off. Because it didn't work for Kang. Definitely did not work for Kang. But speaking of Doomsday teasers, John, we also now have a better idea of what's going to be in the fourth teaser, because the description of the next teaser after this X-Men teaser, which leaked and will now be playing in theaters later in the week. So the fourth one would be next week. So I'd imagine by Sunday we'll know what it looks like in some bootleg copy that Marvel probably leaks online. But according to one of the scoopers, Majestic UCM on X, they were posting about the description for what we're going to see in the fourth teaser. So this would be the one before the fifth one that we talked about already. It's the one after the X-Men. So the one that's going to feature the Wakandans and is going to feature the Talokans as well, Talokans. So apparently is going to focus primarily on the Wakandan Talokan alliance. And then somehow the Fantastic Four feature into it. And then they were hinting at here, the scooper, that we might even get some of the other Avengers showing up in this, especially those scenes that they shot in the Middle East. Remember, there were videos of Anthony Mackie and Letitia Wright and Simu Liu posting on their social media about, we're out here shooting in the desert, wish you were here, not like, they were like out in the middle of nowhere. Do you believe this, like, at this point, or do you think they're gonna again give us a head fake and then maybe give us a Loki teaser next week or a Doctor Doom one, even though there's a fifth one coming after that?
This feels right. I mean, this was rumored at a certain point, so I think this makes sense. Like, have it like kind of, you have the first couple be about people, and then the next few be about teams and like broader things. I think that kind of makes sense. So yeah. I think this makes sense. I think this is right.
Yeah. Well, we hope that Doctor Doom is eating a doomed sandwich in the movie, as yeah, I think that's the language Yash understands, so to connect to one of our favorite viewers. But with that in mind, let's kind of go through some of the other like rumors, announcements, and other things about Doomsday, because everything is Doomsday right now, with the flooding everybody's news feeds. Of course, I mentioned the Thor trailer is now online, while the X-Men trailer is now headed to theaters. So we'll probably get an official version of that next Tuesday, and then the next one is going to get leaked by the weekend. We're not going to go through it, but again, John, you get to see in much more clarity that Thor, he looks like he's in a bit of distress. Like you can see, like Thor. He looks older. Obviously, I mean, part of it is just Chris Hemsworth himself is a bit older than he used to be, like 10 years ago. That's understandable, but you get the shorter hair. We've talked about this before. Now that you're seeing it in like 4K HD clarity, does it tell you anything other than what we already knew? Like he's got his his old look back from Avengers Infinity War, which everybody loves, is like the shorter Thor's hair, the more serious he tends to be. Do you think Chris Hemsworth's Thor is going to survive the film, or are they going to kill him off? Because now he's got a daughter. That seems to be the theme of the movie. I'm kind of worried that we might not see Thor again after this. Like, are you kind of in the same boat?
Maybe. After Thor: Love and Thunder, I say, fucking kill him. Do it. Can't come back from that. So, end it now. Do it.
All right, fair enough. Okay, well, let's keep going, because we got a couple other quick hits from the Doomsday side of things, because we've spent enough time on there already. But apparently, John, we got some fan art that we got to look at. James Marsden, of course, featured as Cyclops, as what a lot of people would say is a much more comic accurate Cyclops in that leaked X-Men trailer. I know you're not the biggest fan of this, because you're also not a big James Marsden fan.
Hey, you got a good plot? No, we got comic accurate costumes. It's like, all right, bet.
But if you scroll down here, I saw some really epic fan art posters featuring Cyclops, which I'm like, if they're gonna do this for the character posters next year, I mean, Boss Logic is always on top of his game, so he's probably got the best one of the bunch. Like that right there is pretty epic, regardless of whether the movie is good or not. I'm like, I'd be happy to print that out and hang that up, or get it professionally printed and hang that up on, on my office wall, and like have that be part of the new background of the show. That one is kind of nice, much more comic booky, even though that doesn't seem to be exactly the costume they're going for in the movie.
They don't have the trunks. Fuck them.
And then there's another one. So let's go through the.
James Marsden kind of sucks. No, he does suck. Fuck James Marsden.
Hey Johnny, and hey Movie Spud. Happy Tuesday of the last Tuesday of the year, everybody. Yeah, there's one more here, which I think these ones they progressively get worse, because I feel like this one is the weakest of the bunch. But again, you get another look at James Marsden's Cyclops. Any of these stick out to you? Would you take any of these and stick them on your bedroom wall if you had to?
No, because I fucking hate James Marsden, and Cyclops sucks. Most overrated Avenger, or most overrated X-Man. God, Avenger, Jesus Christ, I need sleep. Anyway, and more overrated than Wolverine. There, I said it. Wolverine isn't. Here's the thing
ACC Black.
Is he used too much? Maybe. But the thing is, there's a reason he's used too much. He's an actually good character. Cyclops has sucked since the 80s, so fuck that guy. Fuck Cyclops.
But I will say this, though. Like, when they released that I think they're leaking it themselves, but technically it was leaked and not released by Marvel. When they put that X-Men trailer out the other day, I was like, this was just, Kevin Feige going all Denzel Washington from Training Day, all over the internet with King Kong ain't got shit on me move, because forget the Cyclops stuff. I just loved seeing Professor X and Magneto. There's something magical about that, because it's like those characters, those iteration of the characters have been with us for 20 plus years, and yes, they've killed them off many a times. None of the timelines make any sense, but it's just there's something primal to that. So I did enjoy that quite a bit. And for however they land or don't land the plane in the movie, I'm still gonna show up just for the nostalgia bits at least once in the movie theater. Go ahead, John. What's your favorite X-Men character?
Oh, that's a tough one. I'd have to think about it.
I mean, for me, yeah, because I can't. If I had to pick one, it's a bit hard.
That comes up. Like, I like Beast a lot.
But like, that's your favorite. Like, that's.
I mean, Wolverine is obviously, he's great or she's great. Like, both versions of Wolverine are great. Logan or X-23. But yeah, those are probably the two. I would say Beast. Beast is up there. I like him a lot. I like Nightcrawler too. I like Nightcrawler. Blue people. I like Blue people when they're written by Stan Lee or Chris Claremont, not by James Cameron.
Got it. Okay. And do you have anything against green people? You seem to enjoy the Guardians of the Galaxy.
I like Gamora. I like Gamora.
What about purple people?
I like Swamp Thing.
That's another green person. That's good. Is Killer Croc technically a green person?
Depends on the iteration. Sometimes he's gray. In the animated series, he was gray. I like Hulk. Another green person.
Yeah,
also,
that's the biggest green person.
Gray.
The who?
Although Hulk originally started out as gray.
That's true. He did. That's true. Fair enough. Yeah. Well, anyway.
Because I am Beast, flashes the camera with my hairy ass chest.
If I had to, Colossus is a good one. Hulk is God.
Colossus
okay,
is
so we
good.
know what Ron thinks. Emo Nerd Girl loves Silver Fox. I mean, Wolverine is a lot of people's favorites. Yeah, John Campia's favorite, X-Men character is Magneto. So I'm sure he loved the teaser. For me, I feel like my favorite X-Men character is probably Rogue, because it's just very underrated.
You just
very
can't
OP.
resist that southern charm, Dan, huh?
I think there's a lot of also Jean Grey. I think is very underrated in terms of just the Fox X-Men. Again, those filmmakers didn't quite do those characters entirely justice. But again, we're gonna get to hopefully better or more well-developed iterations in the MCU. But let's keep on going, because we have one more thing from MCU Weekly that I want. Actually, a couple of more things, but one more thing that's connected to Avengers Doomsday that I wanted to talk about for a moment here, because we know that Evangeline Lilly is basically retired from acting. She said as much until Marvel backs up the Brinks truck, which chances are they're not going to do that, because she's not Robert Downey Jr. She's not a cornerstone of the franchise. But because the Wasp is technically retired, it looks like we might be getting.
The Wizard is definitely overrated, because actual comic book nerds would know that his name is really Captain Marvel. So
fair enough, but we're gonna get it. We're gonna get to that later. We're not in DCU Daily, MCU Weekly. But as I was saying, it looks like Ant-Man will still have a partner in Avengers Doomsday and maybe even Secret Wars. It's just gonna be his daughter, John. If you scroll down here, it looks like there was a hint from, why am I forgetting her name right now? The actress who plays that they recast, Catherine Newton. She posted a photo of her in an Avengers Doomsday crew hat on Instagram, basically hinting at the idea that she actually filmed Avengers Doomsday. So I mean, we thought she was going to be in Avengers Secret Wars because everybody's going to be in that movie. But your thoughts on the idea that since maybe the Wasp isn't going to be around any longer, that maybe they're just going to bring in Catherine Newton that kind of takes over, with Cassie Lang's character.
A lot of people care. People care, because Captain Marvel is awesome.
But John, to the point at hand, because we could talk about, we'll die on that hill later. Do you care for Catherine Newton's Cassie Lang? I feel like she got done dirty in the last Ant-Man movie.
I don't care. I like Catherine Newton as an actress. I think she's really good. I can't wait for Ready or Not 2, but I couldn't give less. I feel bad for all the people that were like, why did they recast this actress? Because it makes no sense. But outside of that, I don't really care.
Yeah. It's gonna be, It's going to be interesting because to me, I thought they just completely wasted every actor, every storytelling potential, and obviously the CGI. Everything in Ant-Man 3 was some of the worst things that MCU's ever put out. So I do hope she gets to have at least, one good go around in the Ant-Man sub-franchise of the larger MCU. And I mean, they're not going to recast her. So yeah. But yeah, everything in Ant-Man 3 was a waste. So hopefully we'll get a better iteration.
Especially MODOK's butt cheeks. That was a waste.
Yeah. Let's not go there. But you know where we should go,
Speaking of
John?
a waste. The next thing we're talking about is a very famous director may be interested, or they're interested in him, and this would be a waste of Jordan Peele's talent. So, let's talk about him being in the MCU next.
Well, why don't you tell us about it, John? Because I feel like this is going to be a Fancast Friday topic soon enough. Because Jordan Peele himself might have confirmed that he might be joining the MCU soon.
Because Daniel Richtman reported that, and also known as Daniel RPK, he reported that that Marvel was interested in getting Jordan Peele. They're desperate. We have to get good directors because God knows Jeff Loveness or whatever the fuck these assholes are, and all these dickheads who don't know how to direct things except for gray backgrounds and shallow depth of field. They're like, all right, Multiverse of Madness, kind of a failure because, we got Sam Raimi and we completely wasted his talents because we had to force Illuminati shit into this garbage-ass movie. So, let's try to get the man behind 3 killer movies, 3 successes, try to get him, Jordan Peele, to the MCU. And the thing is, he didn't say no because Monkey Paw Productions, which is Jordan Peele's production company, gave the eye emoji, which is like sort of like a are you saying something? Are you saying something? Like they're intrigued, maybe, who knows? But it seems like maybe there is more to this than just a scooper saying bullshit, and there is actually so there is actually that, because initially I think it was Jordan Peele was considered for the X-Men reboot. Obviously, that's not happening because Jake Schreier, who directed Thunderbolts, is doing the X-Men reboot. But hey, dump him, get the guy, let's get the guy who did a box office failure for us, and instead get the guy who can, actually write good shit and direct good shit and have him do an X-Men movie. That would be good, but, they wouldn't let him do what he wanted. They got good directors, and now they're just nope.
I'm just
but yeah,
chewing on some chocolate, but I will say this.
So am
I. Look, Jordan Peele has a hit or miss record for me. I don't think Jordan Peele is as good a director as some people give him credit for. He's a great creative visionary, but just on his portfolio alone, he's had some really good ones.
They got Sam Raimi to do Multiverse of Madness, and it fucking sucked because they didn't let him do what he fucking wanted to do. I'm just saying.
But look, okay, so back to the news itself is that Daniel Richtman, as Scooper says, Jordan Peele might be joining the MCU soon. We knew that this isn't even the first time we have heard about this. There was a rumor going around weeks ago or months ago. But it was never quite credible because nobody from Marvel was saying anything to either debunk it or saying, oh yes, this is happening. But when Jordan Peele's production company itself, aka somebody close to him, or maybe even himself, gives the eye emoji to the idea, all of a sudden, the image shows Jordan Peele next to the Marvel Studios logo. You gotta wonder, and you begin to wonder, where they're going with this. John, I feel like this is just begging for a Fancast Friday, and would you know, we have a Fancast Friday poll up on the YouTube community post section. You can go there and vote for it, because we could, this Friday, the very first Fancast Friday of 2026, if you guys make it happen, you can vote for for fan casting the perfect MCU movie that Jordan Peele could direct. I think He's got a few good options there. We're not going to give away all of them. I think some of the obvious ones would be anything to do with Blade or the Midnight Suns, because that would be more horror related. If they want to bring him in for a Ghost Rider reboot, those would be some of the big ones for me. I think there's a lot of X-Men characters that Jordan Peele could tackle. John, is there anything that comes to your mind, given his horror background and the kind of sci-fi fantasy horror that he usually works with?
Awesome if I'm going to say this is an out there thing. It would never happen on the big screen. But if they get Jordan Peele to do it, maybe it'll happen, especially with what DC is cooking up. Have kind of like what they did with BVS and Civil War. Have Jordan Peele beat DC to the punch and make a Man-Thing movie before Swamp Thing movie comes out.
Okay.
Because he did cameo in Werewolf by Night, and a lot of people were really impressed by the effects and how he looked, how he was. Because it's obvious to give him, the guy who does is in his own culture. He directs mostly a black cast, which makes sense. That's what he prefers. That's what he likes to do. You obviously give him a black character, a Power Man movie or a Blade movie, blah 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 blah, all that stuff. I think that's too obvious. Give him something fucking weird and see how he does with it. And that's what I'm spoiler alert for if that makes it to Fancast Friday. But honestly, I'd want to see him do a Man-Thing movie. I think that could be really cool.
Yeah, Man-Thing would be very out there. Obviously Wonder Man is already, that's already done, basically. I mean, unless they do a second season, which I don't think it's meant to be more than a limited series.
I ate all my chocolate. Sorry.
Don't worry. I have an entire bowl full of Halloween candy here, Emo Nerd Girl. You're welcome.
Halloween candy? So, God, how fucking old is... Jesus, that's 2 months old, man.
Too much? Dude, it's chocolate. It's all sugar. It doesn't go bad. It's all sugar. It's fine. I'm not putting it out in the sun anyway. It's it's cool and nice and conditioned in here. Keep him away from Blade. Well, look, Johnny, here's the thing. For all the efforts that they have made to make a Blade movie in the MCU, I feel like Jordan Peele would be the kind of guy where Kevin Feige could kind of give him the job and be like, do your thing. There's a few things you can't do. Everything else is, fair game. Make it happen. And Jordan Peele could pull it off. And regardless of what you think about Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, and I didn't think it was a particularly great movie. It's an above average Marvel movie, but it's not the best thing they've done. I don't think it's better than the first Doctor Strange movie either, even though it's much bigger in scope and scale. I will say this though, Sam Raimi, and Kevin Feige said this a lot about Sam Raimi, he was a director that Kevin Feige felt kind of leaving him to his devices to do his thing. And while yes, I think some of the best parts of that movie are when it's a Sam Raimi movie, and then when it's an MCU movie, it struggles and it's tonal imbalance.
Yes.
If you want to give Jordan Peele slightly more of a carte blanche with the creative vision, and then like I said, a lot of movies, even with James Gunn, James Gunn got to do a lot of what he wanted to do, except he couldn't make it a rated R movie, or he couldn't put in certain things, or his very personal brand of humor that James Gunn has obviously done with Peacemaker and Suicide Squad over at DC. But James Gunn showed that you could still do really good work, and he's not the only director who's done really good work in the MCU. So, and somebody who's more authoristical, he's going to write the script, he's going to direct it, he's going to do the casting, he's going to be very involved in every aspect of the production. Jordan Peele is that kind of a director and creative. So, if this is true, which if he's given it the eye emoji, the only two things I can think of is either he is publicly looking to negotiate a deal in the public eye. Oh, look, everybody's talking about it. Just, what about that pitch, Kevin? Hire me for the job. Or something's already, in progress, and they've already been signing some paperwork or whatever. So I would love to see if Blade or anything Midnight Suns ends up in his corner. I think if DC were to bring him in, they should have, brought him in to do Justice League Dark, or maybe a Constantine kind of a project. Maybe, finally kick James Mangold to the curb if he's going to be doing 5 other projects before he decides to do a Swamp Thing he doesn't even know what to do with. Give that to Jordan Peele. But John, like you suggested, Man-Thing could be a good one. You guys can vote for this as a topic. What movie in the MCU should Jordan Peele direct? We can do it as a Fancast Friday this Friday. The poll is up. on the YouTube community post section. Go vote for it there. But with that in mind, we're going to move on right now from MCU Weekly. Let us know in the comments down below what you thought about all of that talk about Avengers Doomsday. Of course, we talked about Jordan Peele potentially joining the MCU and everything else that is coming in potentially on the way or already here for the world of the MCU. But right now, we're going to move on to the next part of the show. We got to get into some movie talk madness. There's a few different things we're going to talk about today. So stick with us. We got 3 things in particular. And the very first thing I'm going to get into here with John, George Clooney. He's sort of become like the Jimmy Stewart of modern day Hollywood. Not really exactly. I mean, that's probably a very limited analogy or comparison to begin with, but he's, at a different time in his life. He's on the older side. He was talking about, he did a feature interview with Variety, and he was like, my kid, Alexander, he sneezed at me and now I've got the cold or the flu. And I don't heal as fast as my kids do, and I really am enjoying having a family and raising kids at the age of 50 and whatever. But he's got that Jay Kelly movie coming up, which has got a lot of good praise. He's also rebooting, potentially, the Oceans franchise. It's not quite a reboot. It's more going to be like a requel, like a reboot sequel. Because we're bringing back Brad Pitt, we're bringing back Matt Damon. But John, if you can if you search by Oceans in this article, there's a couple of paragraphs I want to go to specifically. And George Clooney kind of just like in the middle of the interview is asked about this, and right there, if you can zoom into this, he talks about what his vision is for this upcoming Oceans movie, which we know they got a green light on the script. It's those 2 paragraphs right there, and they're set to be scouting locations and then hopefully filming next year. So we know this thing is well on its way to actually happening. It is happening. So all of that said, I just wanted to ask you, John, and I'll read through this, what he said, and then I want to get your reaction to this. So stick with me here, guys. In Variety here, George Clooney was talking to one of their writers, and he was talking about, look, Ocean's 11. That's a movie that we have already had a trilogy, and George Clooney is going to be reviving it and working on maybe the 4th movie in that franchise, like 4th movie in that continuity, technically 5th if you count Ocean's 8. But in the article they say in Variety, although instead of a nostalgia play, he wants to explore what it's like to pull off a heist when you're no longer young and spry. He was inspired by, aka George Clooney was inspired by the movie Going in Style, a 70s comedy about a group of aging criminals, and he's enlisted Roberts, Damon, Pitt, and Don Cheadle to return as an older but wiser gang. I can't wait to see what a wiser Don Cheadle sounds like. They are scouting locations and hope to start shooting next October. And Clooney himself said there was something about the idea that we're too old to do what we used to do, but we're still smart enough to know how to get away with something that just appeals to me. They've lost a step and they need to find a way to work around their limitations. So John, he's talking about like kind of riffing on some of the themes and ideas of Going in Style, which is an old movie, and giving us a sequel to the Oceans movies that they already did a trilogy of years ago now, where they're all just older and they're having to sort of bring some of their old tricks, and well, these old dogs with old tricks need to learn a few new tricks along the way and kind of figure out a way to make things work. But they're gonna play up and lean into the fact that they're much older now.
There was a remake of it a couple of years ago. I'm like, why does Going sound familiar? Like they did a remake of it about 10 years ago. So
I mean, your thoughts on this overall? Do you think this could work? Because it's still, dude, they had that they had that Brad Pitt and George Clooney movie on Apple TV this year, right? That went straight to Apple TV. Wolves.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not the best thing they've ever done, but it's like you certainly see the chemistry still there. So them alone, I mean, I can't wait to see Brad Pitt just eating in every scene like he was doing in F1 and it does in literally everything he's a part of. But this seems like not only is it going to be a nostalgia play, but they've got a lot of the big stars. A lot of these actors are much bigger than they used to be. Matt Damon is going to be in the big maybe one of, if not the biggest movie of the year next year. Well, probably not the biggest if you go by box office. But then Don Cheadle, of course, is a much bigger star today. I mean, obviously, Brad Pitt and George Clooney are huge. Julia Roberts is back, and she's got a career renaissance. Your thoughts on the ideas that George Clooney has here? Because he's really much more in charge of the creative voice of these upcoming Ocean's movie or movies. I don't know if they want to do multiple. But is this going to go the way of Top Gun Maverick, or is this going to go the way of Matrix Resurrections? Like, which way do you think this will swing?
I feel like I don't think it'll be the greatest thing ever. I think it'll be like a perfectly fine movie. I don't think it'll be quite as good as Top Gun Maverick, but I don't think it'll be as bad as Matrix Resurrections. I think it'll be somewhere in the middle where it'll be kind of like Spinal Tap 2. I think it'll be like Spinal Tap 2 where it'll be a good, fun movie, but it won't be as great as the best entries of the franchise, but not be as bad as it'll be like not as good as Ocean's 11 and what I've heard about Ocean's 13, but not quite as bad as Ocean's 8 or Ocean's 12. It'll be right in the middle. That's what I think.
Okay. Yeah, I'm okay with that. I mean, if they hit that sweet spot, because a lot of people will go to see this movie simply for the nostalgia, and I know I would, or I will. Yeah, it's tricky, though, to walk that line of like, okay, so these guys are older, can't teach a old dog new tricks kind of a thing, and then, or maybe you can. But these are some of the best, most talented actors in the world. So I can't wait to see, how the group's chemistry still is there or not there, and how do they address the absences of some of the actors who are no longer with us, who were part of the original movies. So we'll see how it goes. You guys let us know in the comments what you think about that. But in the meantime, we're going to talk about the bidding war. We've got a brief update. We're going to get back into MovieTalk Madness in a second. But before we do, we've got one new update from the Warner Brothers Discovery bidding war front. And the latest, because let me just kind of, take a couple of steps back and give some context to this, because if you've been following this story, Paramount launched a hostile takeover bid for Warner Brothers Discovery a few weeks ago. Their initial offer was pretty much the same as their last offer, which was rejected by Warner Brothers before they signed the deal with Netflix to sell themselves to Netflix. Warner Brothers rejected that deal. And then Paramount came back and said, we have revised our offer. Now we're giving you a personal guarantee from David Ellison's father, Larry Ellison. So you're going to have a personal guarantee to cover the entirety of the money that is being put up. We have basically matched Netflix's termination fee. So that is the same, number, $5.8 billion. We're still going directly to their shareholders, but the board of Warner Brothers Discovery, can give their recommendation. And so we were waiting to see what they were going to say. And they said last week, just about a week ago now, coming up, that they were going to give their recommendation. So, John, today we got not the official announcement, but we have got basically confirmation from inside reporters. And this was kind of how it played out a couple of weeks ago, the last time Warner Brothers rejected the Paramount deal, the previous offer, that it's looking pretty likely. And, the sources here are pretty credible. This came in from Reuters on Yahoo Finance, but originally from CNBC. It looks like Warner Brothers are going to be rejecting the latest Paramount Skydance deal again. This would make it the 8th official bid or 8th total bid that Paramount would have put out there for Warner Brothers, that Warner Brothers is going to be like, nah, I'm good. We're good. We're going to go with Netflix. So, John, your thoughts on this? Because just to put it in context, the dollar value on this deal or on this offer from Paramount is the same number that was there 2 offers ago. This is the same, in terms of the total value of the deal itself, $108.4 billion is what Warner Brothers rejected when the day they signed the deal with Netflix. It's the one they rejected after it became a hostile takeover bid from Paramount. And now, even though Paramount has addressed all the shortcomings that Warner Brothers Discovery pointed out a couple of weeks ago, it's still the same number. What do you think is the reason why Warner Brothers are rejecting this offer? Is it really just because Paramount hasn't upped the actual price of the deal? Like they're not paying up any more than they were offering a month ago? Or is there more to it than that? Because seemingly all the other points were addressed and Warner Brothers are still not satisfied.
I just think they realize maybe WB is smarter than we realize, and David Zaslav is kind of aware of what Paramount really wants to do with Warner Brothers and what they have. And so I think there's that. I think David Zaslav kind of, not saying he's like the good man in the story, he is selling off the only company that has not been sold off to somebody yet, and they selling it off to a fucking streaming service. So, I mean, I'm not saying like that's a big brain move. It's not, obviously, for a company that's been doing quite well. It just doesn't make sense to me, but I'm not a businessman, so who knows? But it's just like kind of poetic justice, and I feel like Zaslav is more aware of what Paramount wants to do with it, and I think going forward with Netflix is the slightly lesser of two evils. And even though I don't like it, but I think Zaslav just kind of knows, and he's like, let's not do that, I think. And I'm not saying he holds all the power. Obviously, you have shareholders and executives and a bunch of other people to help make that decision, and obviously it's not just to him, but he does still have a lot of say, and I think he and I think shareholders are aware, and I think they are aware of the situation, and they're like, you know what, let's not do that. Especially it doesn't look good for, it doesn't look good for, you know, I don't think it looks good for a business decision either, because it's like, Skydance just bought Paramount. Like, the ink wasn't even dry when they were like, hey, Zaslav, hey, give us WB. Hey, give us WB. And so, you know, it's, I think, I mean, it's, I think it's just a whole mess of things. This is the slightly better mess, but like still a mess nonetheless.
Yeah, look, ultimately, I think
I'm a poet and I don't even know it anyway.
Yeah. Look, ultimately, I think this deal being rejected by Warner Brothers is simply because, you know, despite the fact that they agreed to address all the other things, like, oh yeah, the Ellisons actually guarantee personally all the money that is going to be offered up here. Ultimately, I think Warner Brothers are saying here, or at least indicating, that now we're in the hostile takeover stage here. This is not where we were a month ago when it was the open bidding process, you know, war. Like, we're in a process now where Netflix has a signed contract. The two companies are moving forward with their plans to merge. Paramount has to pay more money. They can't keep being like, and the fact that Paramount is at this point just like inching up like a little bit at a time, and yeah, technically they can keep stretching this out all the way until the board meets and votes on the deal to officially make it happen with Netflix next summer, which might sometime in June probably. I just think like the Ellisons have the freaking money. If they were actually serious about this, they would show the money. Like, I don't even think it's going to take a whole lot more. You got to make it like count for Warner Brothers. So I think the next move here is, if Paramount does stick with this, I don't think they're going to do a lawsuit as their next, thing. What they will do is more likely just, actually go and up their offer. Like, go from 108 billion to, if you're serious about acquiring Warner Brothers, and pay the amount of money that Netflix is going to need to be paid for Warner Brothers to walk away from that deal, which is going to be at least $3 billion, and then something on top of that. You gotta sweeten the pot. That's the only way this works. And even then, look, I personally currently I'm leaning towards Netflix, because that means that there will be less politics in all of this, and I do particularly like the idea that Netflix will keep more of Warner Brothers as we know them today intact, and to that end, yeah, I mean, the Ellisons are being cheapos. I mean, I get it. You don't get rich by not being cheap. I can understand that, but literally, if you're paying $108.4 billion, just pay like $5-10 billion more and see what happens. At the very least, it might force Netflix to up their number. And I think that's really where this is at. But you guys let us know in the comments down below what you think about this. This is the latest update in this whole bidding war. So we'll keep an eye on it, of course, in the new year, see what happens next. I'm sure this is not over, but yeah, Warner Brothers Discovery rejecting, or set to reject, the latest offer from Paramount. Will Paramount give up? Probably not. What will they do next? We'll find out, and we'll keep you updated as that happens. But right now, we're going to move back into some Movie Talk Madness, John, because you're going to walk us through what's going to be, speaking of Paramount, an interesting first movie from the studio next year that looked pretty cheap, but somehow has amazing reviews. Walk us through what we got to talk about here, because that's another monkey movie, and it seems like that seems to be the magical topic that everybody wants to make movies about, and this one seems to be good.
But it seems like Paramount's next movie, which is going to be the much smaller horror film Primate, about a monkey that goes ham and starts killing people, and apparently, according to 25 early reviews, it's pretty positive. It's got a 92%. Obviously, this means nothing because these are, just the first reviews. But if we click on this here, 23 out of 25 reviews is positive. Only 2 are rotten. If we click on this here, we can go through the reviews about how, but a lot of these reviews are like, this is 4 out of 5, but this is like a 6 out of 10, and like 3 out of 5. So it's like, yeah, technically they're positive, but they're not like, 10 out of 10 great. Like, this is like literally half. Like, I've seen, like, DC movies that have the same exact score that would be rotten. So, it's kind of a little off-putting, but, like, it's, yes, technically positive, but not, like, positive in the way that you think it's. Like, literally, 2 out of 4 and 2.5 out of 5, literally the same exact score. Half. Yet, that one's positive, and that one's negative. Interesting. Okay, but... I guess you can't complain. Here we are. But yeah, it seems like Primate is killing it for right now. And with that, things get pretty wild. It released a new clip of the movie. They've released like a whole bunch of stuff in regards to this, like showcasing the plot of the film, the science of the chimp. I'm gonna take these off because they're starting to hurt my head. Like the practical effects, when to watch, and it gives us a clip. Obviously, we're not going to play the clip here because, demonetization. So we did get a trailer a couple months back about how after something happens with Ben, it looks like he gets attacked. It looks like something happens with the chimp, and he goes from good to bad, and we don't know why, and he just starts killing people, and, it's kind of just like that, and it's interesting. Yes, this is a DC, for the most part. Also, hello, CB the Legend. This is a DC channel, but we haven't reached DC just yet. We're going to be getting into that soon enough. Maybe a couple more, maybe 20 more minutes or so. So, yeah, 10, 20 minutes. So, why so many monkey movies? Yeah, exactly. Technically, I mean, I liked the monkey, although that wasn't a real monkey. It was a toy monkey. But, ape together strong. And also, technically, the best monkey movie is Planet of the Apes, but, I don't know how much that counts. But, yeah. But yeah. That's kind of it for MovieTalk Madness, because it was just like a cute little thing in regards to Primate, how it surprisingly has decent reviews right now. Obviously, this isn't going to be the only thing in regards to trailers, because we do have a couple more trailers in what we deem the quick hits. So let's get the quick hits ready to go, because we're going to get into them right now. So the first trailer, quote unquote, I mean, it's a trailer, but it's for something that's technically already out, is Netflix has released a series finale trailer. Obviously, the series finale is going to be coming out tomorrow. I almost said next week. Tomorrow, it is going to be dropping New Year's Eve. And so you can celebrate the new year, and you can start it off with mediocrity. So there it is, and it looks like pretty intense. A lot of things will happen, good, bad, and I assume all the main characters are going to live, and then all of the red shirts are going to die. And then 11 is going to point at the monster, and then he explodes, and then everything is right in the world. That's what my prediction is.
Look, I'm a little bit behind.
I assume so.
But I can't wait to catch up to this. I'm trying to catch up in time for the finale, so I'm all caught up and watch the last 2 hours.
I'm gonna just wait until the finale's out and then just binge everything.
I mean, dude, every single season of Stranger Things I've always binged, even like when they've been doing these like multi-part releases. So I can't wait. I can't wait to see how it ultimately ends. I felt like the fourth season was a nice recovery because like the third season was kind of like it was okay. The second season was probably like the least memorable at this point. Anyway, we'll see. We'll know soon enough who survives and who does not. The trailer's pretty epic. I have to agree on that one. So, yeah, I guess we have seen Stranger Things, or we will be seeing Stranger Things, Caleb.
In a theater, maybe, because it apparently expanded its theatrical release with more locations added. 1.1 million plus RSVPs to date. Man, imagine seeing this mediocrity in the theater. Jesus Christ. Anyway, but yeah, it expanded because a lot of people are going.
They're selling out. I mean, people are going to see these, and so you can't blame them, right? Like for putting out even more times. Like this thing is about as popular as you considering this is probably going to be like the biggest. It's going to be the biggest Netflix franchise, right? Like I can't think of any other Netflix franchise that's any bigger than this.
House of Cards?
No. Okay.
That's
right.
The other thing I could think of, and that's that's not even a franchise.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Eddie Munson.
I guess it's good
anyway.
that they're getting WB's shit because this is the best they have and it's ending and it sucks now. So
But it does goes to show you that Netflix isn't immune to putting things in theaters, and I just think this is just opening the door wider and wider to more theatrical for even their own stuff, and then hopefully Warner Brothers will stay theatrical after the deal. But let's keep on going.
Yes. Indeed. Speaking of another trailer for another season, Shrinking. Season 3 trailer reveals first footage of Michael J. Fox's acting return. Jason Segel is also seen back with his former How I Met Your Mother co-star Kobe Smulders. So exciting for people that watch Shrinking. I gotta start writing down all the fucking shit I need to watch because like goddamn, there's so much. Dude,
I'm not caught up on this show, so I'm gonna have to catch up a little bit on season 2 before I get to season 3. But
finally finish Welcome to Derry. It was pretty good. Like it wasn't the greatest thing ever, but it was really good.
Yeah. Hello Enterprising.
Episode saved it definitely. Also, Hello Enterprising.
Yeah. But as I was saying, like the season 3 trailer for this, even though I'm not caught up on the show, look, Michael J. Fox is a real life hero who you just gotta admire the fight in him for like having gone through what he has and still fighting through and coming back into acting at his age now. So it's heartwarming to see it, and I can't wait for a show like this, which has made people cry even before season 3. I cannot wait to see what Harrison Ford and Michael J. Fox sharing the screen for an entire episode or multiple episodes is going to look like. So this is another Apple TV show that's just if a lot of people don't even know about it, other than that whole Golden Globes gif from, was it last year, when he was sitting like he's eating a sandwich sitting behind, I forget the other stars of the show, but Harrison Ford having the time of his life, and of course Jason Segel, and Kobe still smolders, so great cast. And Michael J. Fox, can't wait to see him back in acting. And it couldn't be in a better show.
Yep. Then Angel Studios says it has surpassed 2 million paying guild members. So congrats to them, I guess. Sure.
Yeah, look, so this is Angel Studios. Basically, they have a crowdfunding model where it's sort of like you can pay into their membership, and so you basically are like getting a producer credit with each thing that they produce. And now they've got 2 million paying guild members, and they all have a little bit of equity in the studio's movies that they produce. And it's a crowdfunding model that's not going to work with every studio, and they're the only ones that do this. But you could tell that it works, at least for them. So this is good to see. Again, if it's the whole thing about go and show your support for the kind of movies you want to see more of, and this is a more direct way of doing that. Other than, of course, go buy the ticket to your favorite movie and support them theatrically. Here you can actually pay for the movie's budget, like even if it's just $10-15 or whatever they charge you a month. So anyway, yeah.
Anyway, Broadway box office, Stranger Things, Harry Potter break records during holiday week. We could jump back up to the highest grossing spot with 4.4 million across 9 performances. Very cool.
Yeah. I've been hearing a lot of good things about the Stranger Things Broadway show, and the timing of it is obviously perfect with the show finale coming up and the final season. And Harry Potter, of course, we're going to get the TV show coming up soon. Was it yesterday that we talked about Gary Oldman and his family, his grandkids visiting the Harry Potter TV show sets? That was pretty cool. So, yeah, let's keep on going. Yeah.
Next up, Idris Elba is knighted in UK's New Year honors as Cynthia Erivo is given MBE. So do we have to start calling Idris Elba Sir Idris Elba?
I guess. Yeah, I guess so. That's how that works.
That this is the case that it is technically now Sir Idris Elba?
Sir Idris Elba. There you go. Much like Sir President Christopher Nolan, and now it's Sir Elba.
I mean, it's
Sir
just interesting.
Elba.
All the Sirs, Sir Christopher Nolan, like all these people, and then you get the guy who was in that John Cena movie where he's the prime minister with, Nick Jonas's wife.
Yeah.
Interesting, level.
I mean, there are levels to this game. Like, I think MBE is like a level below.
You're not. Like Cynthia Erivo is not a dame, yet,
right?
At least,
right.
So good for Idris Elba. It's just it's just funny because there's a lot of highbrow people and the guy who's in schlockfests year after year. So I just find that to be interesting.
Idris Elba's a great actor. See him in Hijack. That's on Apple TV. There's another season of that coming up. Anyway, let's keep on going.
Yes. Apparently, Avengers Doomsday will see Deadpool paired up with Spoiler. And
we love Spoiler, favorite character.
It's apparently going to be Logan and Peter Parker, Tobey Maguire and Hugh Jackman, because we can't get enough of those two fucking assholes.
John, this is Kevin Feige's world, and we're just living in it. And Kevin Feige wanted Tobey Maguire to cross paths with Hugh Jackman's Wolverine all the way back. Was it the second Spider-Man movie in the post-credit sequence? First. So yeah, I mean, if this rumor turns out to be true, which a lot of these little nuggets have been shown up to be true about all these leaks, it's going to be awesome if we get to see these three guys just hang out together the whole time, kind of like what they did in Infinity War, where they kind of grouped these Avengers or, heroes off into different little teams. I can't wait to see Deadpool, Wolverine, and then Spider-Man. The only thing I would be sad about is I think this would be as a result of Tobey Maguire's entire timeline being destroyed. So, I mean, all the good and the bad and the ugly from that world will be gone technically. I mean, it's all semantics. But anyway, let's keep on going.
Yes. But next up, Tronary sets date to hit Disney Plus, and it's going to be January 7th. So it's Tronin time, guys.
There we go. If you haven't seen it yet, which a lot of people didn't, you can go watch it on Disney Plus, January 7th. There we go.
Yep. And then
I prefer Jared Leto, according to
Speaking of January, early January, Predator Badlands on digital January 6th, and it's going to be a Blu-ray February 17th. So
you can buy it or rent it on digital January 6th. Yeah, it is a better movie. And then get the physical media version on February 17th.
And remember, Tronka.
Awesome. Let's keep on rolling. We're getting closer to DCU Daily.
Then we got 51 great movies from 2025 now streaming. Got One Battle After Another, Sinners, Begonia, Weapons, and more. So you can take a look at this list. We're not going to go through every single one.
It's a pretty epic list. I will say, so just quickly, so One Battle After Another, and pretty much all the Warner Brothers ones.
Run in. Let's go.
Some of the big ones. John, we don't need to go through every single one. I just wanted to say, you can find F1 on Apple TV, Black Bag is on Prime Video, 28 Years Later is on Netflix. So you have all these big ones, One Day After Another on HBO Max. So, and we'll go through our top 10 list and tier list Tuesday after the show. So stick around.
Animals, if you guys have Shudder, this shows that Jai Courtney can actually act. Okay? Say what you will. Like, he sucked in Good Day to Die Hard. He sucked in a lot of movies. This shows Jai Courtney when he's just left to be
He was a great
fucking,
Boomerang.
just like weird Australian dude. He can act. He's good in it's not the greatest movie ever, but he's good in this movie. So even with, for Dan, it's got the bulge.
It's got the bulge. It's got the bulge.
So
all right,
good stuff. And it's got the chick from what was it, the firefighter show with the people from Super Troopers. She's in it too.
Oh, okay. Okay. I forgot her name too. Anyway, Begonia is also out. In case you guys were wondering, what is that? That's an HBO Max thing, probably. Anyway, let's keep on going.
So
Weapons is on HBO Max. Just watch Weapons on HBO Max.
Most anticipated movies of 2026. The Odyssey is pretty much one of the few I actually care about. So.
I mean, look, these are obvious. You got the live action Moana. You got Spider-Man in there, the Odyssey. This is a long list again, and we're going to talk about it probably in a Tier List Tuesday episode soon. There's some ones that you probably don't recognize. Greenland 2 Migration comes up pretty early in the year.
This one I'm
Bone
excited
Temple,
for, even though I didn't love the first one.
That looks interesting.
I thought, I think Bone Temple looks really, really good. So there's that, and I will say Mercy sounds like a cool movie. Like I know everyone fucking has
John,
a gigantic
I hate to burst your bubble, but this to me looked only half a step better than the Ice Cube War of the Worlds, because this is one of those Chris Pratt is sitting in front of a green screen talking to his webcam, because he gets blamed for Rebecca Ferguson's murder.
Movie.
Searching,
and then you had the movie Missing. Those are movies of the same caliber done right.
I'm just saying, the trailers did not impress me. This looks like they did Gone Girl, but like with War of the Worlds like style. That Ice Cube War of the Worlds style of filmmaking. We're literally just gonna look at Chris Pratt talking to the webcam.
Fun and entertaining movies I watched all year, so I don't give a fuck. Okay. Fuck it. It could be bad, but it's gonna be fun.
I'm not going to the theater for this. I don't know. It's gonna convince me.
I'll see it twice just so your lack of viewing experience is meaningless.
Great. I look forward to that and look forward to your review of Mercy. But with that, let us have some Mercy, and that's gonna be the end of the quick hits. Oh. Okay. We don't need. Was there a DJ in here somewhere? Anyway, that's all we got for the news segment of the show. The news, the quick hits. Hope you guys enjoyed that. But as Aquaman, was it? No, as Cyborg once said, the ride ain't over yet. And in response to that, Aquaman said, "My man." And speaking of which, we gotta talk about DC. So, guys, if you are here, if you're watching live, hit that like button, because we are only just getting started, because it's time. DC time. Let's get into it.
It's another project that's been blessed from the beginning.
There's the shot right there. That.
Okay, we don't need to see chorus.
Right there.
Hey, buddy. Eyes up here.
Now you want to get nuts? Let's get nuts. Here we go.
Victory mine. Ask me how am I doing? I'm telling you, really, I'm doing sublime. I never wait in the stewardess line. I just go do it. I'm moving my time. Really had nothing to do with it. How am I moving? I'm moving like you want to shine. Follow my lead. Don't listen to lies. I had to put me all on the line. That's why I know that victory's mine.
I prefer Jared Leto. Hunka hunka.
All right, welcome on in to how do we always miss this one graphic? Welcome on in to another episode. Okay, now it's gone completely. Welcome on in to another episode of DCU Daily. We're getting into DCU Daily proper. We got lots to get into today. We've got some quick hits. We're gonna do what did Gunn say, because of course, James Gunn has always given us some insights into
Gunn say?
Exactly. And then we gotta talk about Supergirl, Clayface, Wonder Woman. Is she gonna be cast in the DCU anytime soon? To do that and so much more, let's get in John here. John, what are you most excited to talk about in the DC side of things?
I'm excited to talk about Gunn debunking rumors, because that's our favorite thing that he does. So, hell yeah.
All right. Well, let's dive into the quick hits, shall we? We'll start off with some DC quick hits. I'll be right back, but keep on keeping on, John.
Heck yeah. The Parrots, Ducks, and Pelicans of the DCU. So, Jeremy Irvine, who is set to star in the upcoming Return to Silent Hill, which is either going to be the worst thing ever or the most entertainingly bad movie of the year. Jeremy Irvine, apparently he was set to be Alan Scott in the... It was going to be a TV show originally by, Mark Guggenheim and Greg Berlanti and all those guys as part of the Arrowverse, but then it kind of skirted away from that, and then eventually was going to be DCU related. And Jeremy Irvine was cast as Alan Scott. Finn Wittrock was, I think, cast as Guy Gardner, and then it was going to eventually feature other Green Lanterns, not Hal Jordan and Jon Stewart, as they had like big screen plans for them for the DCEU. So this show was going to be about all of them. I think Simon Baz, Jessica Cruz, I think Kyle Rayner was supposed to show up. So Jeremy Irvine had, this to say in regards to that, because I know Finn Wittrock talked about this because his son found the stack of comics he was going to have that he was using to research, and his son asked what were these for, and he's like, well, that was for ultimately a project that never happened, so he was talking about that. But he said this, well, there was chatter about it tying into the planned Green Lantern Corps movie. Like many DC TV shows at the time, chances are it was going to be largely standalone. Regardless, an impressive cast started coming together with Finn Wittrock, chosen for Guy, and Jeremy Irvine set to play Alan. Now the latter has opened up on the plug being pulled on the 10-episode series. I was so gutted. I think I slept on my floor that night when I found out that it wasn't going to happen. In this industry, I always like to say that you get one kick in the nuts every year as an actor, and that I remember that one being a hard one because I had some really good ideas for it, I thought. But there will be something else where we get to incorporate it, but it was just a really nice story. The way it was written was really cool. The scripts were great, and I hope one day it happens, and I hope whoever does it gets to have an amazing time. Irvine declined to share any details about the series due to signing various NDAs. He did, however, express an interest in working with James Gunn in the DCU should the opportunity present itself. I didn't think it was in the DCU, but it was before my time, Gunn said. That said, I think Finn's a talented guy, and he'll be okay. Writers, directors, actors have projects fall through every day. We've all had it happen many times. It's not being done dirty. It's a part of the job. So this was Wittrock commenting on what the show never became, and he's like, I knew the fans wouldn't forgive me if I didn't have the red hair and the bowl cut. So yeah, I was preparing. I was mentally preparing. Not physically. I was going to wait till the last possible second for that. So, this was the little disappointing little tease that we got from Aaron Pierre earlier this year. So, I was intrigued with what they were going to do with this, because I think it could have been, at the very least, kind of interesting. But, now we're going to get a show by Tom King. Great. Honestly, the fact that you're making a CW show seem good in hindsight, that's a lot. Also, thank you, Enterprising, for a nice super sticker. We appreciate that. But yeah. What did the gun say? Bang, missed opportunity.
No, we don't promote violence on the show. By the way, this was not going to be this wasn't going to be a CW show. This was going to be an HBO Max original, so it wasn't going to be like an HBO thing.
Well, it was originally a CW show, and then Greg Berlanti, it was it was originally going to be CW, and Greg Berlanti was working on it, but then it kind of morphed away from him, I think, and then it became this, and eventually moved away from the Arrowverse, and they did something else, and then Greg Berlanti was going to have the show with John Diggle, and he was going to be Green Lantern, but not, and then there was going to be that whole thing.
And this was also at the time when HBO Max and HBO were technically two different things. Now it's kind of all under the same umbrella, but an HBO Max show wouldn't have had the same people working on it or the same rigorous standards that HBO has. So yeah, I mean, look, they still had Doom Patrol, which was a great show, so they could have done a great job here. But again, this is what would have been. I will say this: I do feel for Jeremy Irvine and everybody, Finn Wittrock, who were gonna be in the show, because yes, James Gunn, I think, kind of downplaying it a little bit, like projects fall through. But James Gunn's also been on the good side of a lot of good fortune. Like he's been on the right side of a lot of good fortune, and he's had a lot of opportunity. A lot of actors might have one iconic TV show in their careers, and that's it. It's rare, like that you get like, and I know today television is not quite the same as it used to be, but even now, like if you had that kind of an opportunity sitting, in your lap, and it was taken away, and it had nothing to do with what you could control, I would definitely still be kind of looking back at it and thinking, yeah, like I wish that happened, because I'm sure he was just absolutely crushed by it. And spontaneity is where we were at with the DCEU, so I don't really know how it would connect, if at all, to the DCEU. Like you said, probably would have been just in standalone. But hey, that's not the show we're getting. Hopefully we'll get to see these actors in the DCU in the near or distant future, maybe in a different role. I mean, they haven't cast all of these Lanterns again, so I know the Alan Scott role is still up for grabs. So yeah, maybe they can go with that route.
We'll see.
So yeah.
But yeah, then kind of a rundown of what came out with, the whole comics of 2025. Heat Vision's top comics and graphic novels of 2025, Absolute Batman, Bug Wars, Lucas Wars, Out of Alcatraz, and more. The annual list of books that packed a punch, from reinventing classic characters to shedding light on elusive icons to taking us on epic journeys to our backyard. So essentially this is just a very, a nice list in regards to the top comics in the past year. Many great comics, and the biggest one, obviously, that is known was Absolute Batman. That was kind of the thing.
I mean, it's
because it is DCU.
This is, yeah. I mean, this is a great list. If you are a comic reader, I recommend you go to Hollywood Reporter's website and look in their Heat Vision. They have this article up. It gives you a look at a lot of, the best comics from the year, their DC, Marvel, and other labels. So, of course, the Absolute Universe is what led the way for DC, but beyond that, even there's so many other options. So, yeah. But yeah, let's keep on rolling. We have more Absolute stories, I'm sure, to come in the new year. There's going to be a lot more coming from that part of the DC.
This has Melissa Benoist in honor of the new Supergirl movie coming out, so I assume that she was talking about this, but she says everything changed when her show switched from CBS to the CW. Melissa Benoist discusses Supergirl's channel hop from CBS to the CW and how it changed the show for the better. Not really. I as someone who watched most of the show, I watched 5/6 of the show. I watched never watched the final season, but I did watch the first 5 seasons, and pretty much it's the CBS season, which was the first season, was easily the best season of the show. It just felt the most even, the most level-headed. It did have some stinkers here and there, but for the most part, season 1 was the best season out of all of them. It had the biggest budget. It was the most fun. It had the least amount of shitty writing. Season 2 was horrible. It was bad. The first half of season 3 was good. It had a lot of promise, and then they shit the bed. And then seasons 4 and 5 were just absolutely terrible. It was just bad. It was bad. It was a bad show. Melissa Benoist, I feel bad because she could have given us a really good Supergirl, but the problem is with this iteration is that she was not Supergirl. She was just a Superman, a gender-bent Superman. That's all it felt like, and it just felt like generic, a millennial girl with superpowers, and that's not Supergirl's character. So it just felt kind of not as good as it should have been, especially with someone as talented as Benoist in the lead role. So yeah.
Look, here's the thing. Ultimately, when I saw this article and she was like, everything changed, I thought she was going to tell us, I mean, I don't think she was ever going to downplay the changes or just talk negatively. But I read this article, I'm like, yeah, everything did really change. You got your budget cut, and coming to shoot in LA instead of Vancouver, actually going from LA to Vancouver, meant that you were shooting in lesser locations overall. They all looked similar to everything else in the Arrowverse. I mean, she talks about in this article how it was like a plus because now all of a sudden she felt part of this Arrowverse, larger cinematic universe or television universe, whatever you want to call it. And the crossovers were fun and all, but I'm like, as an actor, as a person, sure, I'm sure she had a much more fun time with it. But genuinely, the show, like you said, John, was way better when it was on CBS. You could tell they had a bigger budget, they had better VFX. They even had some, higher profile actors, and all of that just slowly went downhill. I do think Supergirl sort of came back and had a bit of a recovery in its latter season. It was pretty uneven like most Arrow shows, but it wasn't like every season was dog water. It was just like there were a couple of good seasons, but like season 1 definitely stands out as like they even changed like how the aliens in that were like all of that continuity changed, and then I forgot like where they ultimately ended up.
A lot of
and
stuff
it
that
was,
they couldn't go back to because
Peter
Fasinelli, who played Maxwell Lord, they were setting up big things with him. But he couldn't make the move to Vancouver. He had a life in Los Angeles, and so he couldn't move. So they had to essentially just abandon that entire plot line when it was like starting to get good, starting to get interesting. Because I think it was the season 1 ended with like Maxwell Lord like buying or selling kryptonite to the military. I forget if he was buying it or if he was selling it to General Lane. And I'm like, oh shit, this is gonna be great. And then it got canceled, moved to the CW, and then they never talked about Maxwell Lord ever again because the actor couldn't make the move to Vancouver. So, it's a shame.
Yeah, I agree, 100%.
Things happen. Anywho, everything changed. Yeah, it went from being good to it sucking.
Yep, so you can say that again.
Anyway.
All right, now it's time for What Did Gunn Say, John. Let's talk about what did Gunn say.
Ding, 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 ding.
All the many things James Gunn says. Usually on social media, responding to threads, questions.
A lot of rumors that there is going to be a major casting for Man of Tomorrow next month, and that it's going to be a female character, and that many assumed that it's going to be Wonder Woman, if that rumor was even true. And somebody asked James Gunn, like, hey, is this true? And he said, nope. There you go. That's all you need to know. Nope. I could have fucking told you this. Of course this is not true. Why the fuck would they cast Wonder Woman now? That makes no sense. Ridiculous, but yeah.
I mean, John, let me just quickly ask you this, though. If it's not Wonder Woman, by the way, can you go back to the previous one for a moment? If it's not Wonder Woman, then who do you think it could be?
It's probably a nothing burger character. Like, that's all it is. It's
fair enough. That's fair enough. Yeah.
It's lame sauce. Is stupid is what it is, Anyway, but that's not the only thing he said. We did talk about this the other day. How Matt Reeves, although majorly spelled wrong, wanted to give us a realistic version of Clayface. And since you introduced him in Courage of Commandos, you told Matt Reeves to find another villain for Batman 2 and why he was delayed writing the script. And he's like, where does this stuff come from? No, it's the exact same script it was from the beginning. And so somebody said, like, there were rumors, and James Gunn was like, what fucking rumors? I haven't heard this except for this one guy. So, just him debunking more shit. But yeah, so him debunking more stuff because people have no lives.
It is kind of, yeah, there's no plot twist coming that Jennifer Holland will be playing Wonder Woman. But yeah, I mean, they misspelled Matt Reeves. It says Matt Rives. Who doesn't love Matt Rives? Caleb, right? Exactly. But I do understand, like, James, look, this is one of those things where most filmmakers wouldn't address it, but James Gunn just needs, to answer some of these questions because he's compelled to. And I'm like, yeah, there's always going to be like dime a dozen, like, random rumors that have absolutely no basis in reality. I personally am looking forward to seeing if there's another Amazonian character cast for the Man of Tomorrow, or if it's like an alien character, maybe a Kryptonian character. We've talked about before, they're not going to put one of the big Trinity characters like Wonder Woman or Batman, for the first time, give them an introduction in one of these movies that's not even focused on their character. Like, they already tried that. And while they did a good job with Wonder Woman and Batman v Superman, one of the things that most people will agree on, it's still, there's just more power to introducing the character for the first time in their own movie. So I just don't think this was ever going to be true. So yeah, let's keep on rolling.
I agree. But But yeah, so somebody then asked him off of this same thread. They said, "Hey James, would you ever withhold trying out an actor for a current part with the idea that you would want them for another part down the road, or is it all in the current no matter what? Curious to hear your thoughts." He's like, "Oh, I do this all the time." So it's entirely possible that like there's an actor that would be perfect for a role, but then he's like, "You know what? I think they would be even more perfect for another role down the line." So, yeah. I think, I feel like that makes sense when you think like, oh, at the time they like Chuck Woody would be perfect as Brainiac, but then no, he was either already Myrn and let's not use him again, or we will kind of do a little bit of retconning and then we'll use him for somebody else. So,
I mean, he has said that this is not the first time exactly. Like this is not the first time he has done this because he has mentioned he would like to see Chuck Iwuji in a DCU role that's not what he played in Peacemaker season 1. So it's only, he's being pretty consistent.
In the flashback.
Yeah.
So.
And he's not going to be Brainiac now, so we know that. So I wonder what other role he could play. I mean, we all wondered like he was going to be Brainiac because he played, I'm forgetting the role in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3.
High Evolutionary.
The High Evolutionary. So like it felt like a natural transition, but I'm sure James Gunn is the kind of creator who's like, I'm going to give you guys as an actor different challenges to take on. So I'm sure whoever he puts, Chukwudi Iwuji, it's probably going to be a very different role than what he's done before. But yeah, I mean, look, I'm not surprised by this. What I will say though, we could probably come back to this in the not too distant future and maybe look back and like, oh, maybe that's who he was talking about. Once we do find out some of the other actors and characters being cast in Man of Tomorrow and beyond, maybe when we know who the Wonder Woman's going to be or who Batman ends up being, what other Gotham characters are we going to get to see? But yeah, it's just, I'm sure he's not the only filmmaker who does this either. Like I'm sure Kevin Feige probably has a few of his actor friends be like, don't worry, I got something in mind for you. We're just not there yet. Wait till we get to the Mutant Saga, So it's good. I mean, Martian Manhunter would be a good pick for Chukwudi Iwuji, but again, it depends on whether they even have any plans for the character yet. So, but yeah, could be a good pick. It would depend on, again, how they want to play it and whether it's a movie or TV show, we'll see. Well, let's keep on rolling. What did Gunn say?
Then Brandon Davis,
he's interviewed James Gunn many times.
Where he's like, "Hey, James Gunn, you think you'll ever do a DC Universe holiday special down the line? Maybe. We'll see.
I would love to see it. I would love, John. Wouldn't you?
Again. Sure.
Yeah, Kevin Bacon in the DCU. He was crossing wires. I would also love to see like where like that would be a good fit because Guardians just made all the sense in the world because the tone of those characters and that like part of the MCU that they occupy. Where do you think it would make sense to do a holiday special in the DC universe? Is there even a particular pocket of that universe?
It's not based on Tom King's Booster Gold comic. We're Gucci. If as long as they don't, the second they adapt that piece of shit fucking comic, I am boycotting the DCU because that was some fucking dog shit, horse shit, character assassination. Bull honky, and I pray to God that never gets adapted. So,
hey, Peacemaker
could work. I think there's a lot of people like a Justice Gang holiday special could work. So, there's.
Oh, you know what? I'd love to see that. I think Nathan Fillion is built for one of these holiday specials. I would love to see it. I'd love to see that. Pacerland, great idea with Peacemaker too. Could be a rated R holiday special. I don't know how
holiday special because Peacemaker is
yeah okay. You know what? This could be a Fancast Friday topic too. DCU holiday special.
Like Checkmate, and it'll be like kind of essentially just The Office, but at Checkmate, and it's a holiday special.
Yeah. Okay. Now I'm picking up what you're putting down.
Snowflame holiday special, please, James Gunn, fucking do a Snowflame holiday special. That would be amazing. Yes, the power of cocaine. Fucking yes. Let's go.
All right. Let's keep on going.
But next up, so from this, these are all over the place. We apologize, but when they were talking about this, what rumors, I still haven't heard this except for this one guy, but they were like, I think THR made a piece back before you were even co-CEO saying Clayface was rumored. Matt Reeves was also working on Professor Pig plus Scarecrow projects. Yes, but that just says a Clayface project was rumored, correct? And Matt is a producer on Clayface. So Boris was correct, or maybe I missed something.
So okay, so basically to kind of TLDR it all, the Hollywood Reporter had hinted at the idea, or reported before James Gunn even took the job at DC as co-CEO of DC Studios, that there was a Clayface project in the works. And we sort of knew this before, that Clayface, that script from Mike Flanagan, maybe not the completed script, but the idea, the pitch had existed before DC Studios came into existence. It's just James Gunn is now pretty much confirming that this Clayface movie we're getting has its origins prior to the creation of the DCU and DC Studios, which is probably why they did some work to kind of adapt the story, maybe to kind of line up. We've talked about it, right? Like over the course of this past year, even though it's still largely Mike Flanagan's original script, they had to kind of find a way to kind of fit it into the new DCU's timeline with whatever plans they have for Gotham and Batman. But it makes sense, you know, like it's not the only one. Like James Gunn said, Creature Commandos is something he was working on before the DCU was a thing. He was kind of going to try to fit it in with the DCEU continuity. And that Superman movie he was writing well before. I mean, that's how we got the job for DC Studios, but that Superman movie was going to be its own standalone thing. So it wasn't going to be like, you know, rebooting the DCEU Superman. So yeah, it's not surprising, John. And what are your thoughts on this? Like, are you surprised at all that this Clayface project did exist in some form before the DCU did?
I mean, yeah, because I think Mike Flanagan gave it in like in 2021 or 2022. Like he sent it in and he's like, hey, we should do this. And then the previous administration was like, that actually sounds like a good idea. No. So then James Gunn is like, wait, what's this? A Mike Flanagan script? Approved. So, you know, it's just, I don't know. It's just kind of funny. So, you know, it's just all fucking.
Yeah. And you know what? It to me, this shows that James Gunn is very much being honest and earnest when he says that he will never, you know, look away from a good story that comes across his desk. I mean, sometimes it's just not possible. If somebody comes in and says, give me $300 million to make a Captain Atom movie, he's probably going to say no. But if you're going to give him a really good Clayface script that can potentially be made for $40 million or less, and has a potential to make its money back and then some, and is from somebody with the reputation and the caliber of work, not to mention the script itself is good, like what Mike Flanagan did for Clayface, or from what we know so far, James Gunn is going to listen. He's not just, you know, whether it's going to be an Elseworlds story or part of the DCU. And yeah, you know, Gunn greenlit it. Exactly. Hey, M2G, by the way. And I can't tell if Yush is being sarcastic at this point or earnest, but anyway, let's keep up. We got like, was it one more? What did Gunn say?
One more of what did Gunn say?
Yeah.
And then the final story. But just a few of my favorite songs from 2025. You know, James Gunn is a big music nerd, as we all know. So he's showing off his Spotify playlist, although don't support Spotify, they're assholes. But somebody then replied, please tell me this means you watched Heated Rivalry, because as we all know, these songs didn't exist until they were put into a show that's popular. So then James Gunn's like, I don't know what that is, but I've been a fan of Wet Leg for a long time. So, you know.
Well, I will say this: it's got its audience. We're not the target audience, you and I, but Fiona loves it and has been obsessed with the show. I think we did a quick hit about it when HBO picked it up. It's a Canadian show about two gay hockey players. There's more than just the two of them in the show, obviously, but they're like playing in a fictionalized version of the NHL. It's called the MLH, Major League Hockey in the show. I now have seen all 6 episodes because Fiona put me onto it, and I was like, all right, well, now that I started, I might as well finish it. But anyway, decent show. It's you know, as far as shows go, it was interesting. Hey, MTG. But not everybody's going to have seen the show. It's certainly been a big phenomenon on HBO Max. It's mostly really popular with, you know, the LGBTQ community, and a lot of women just love it. James and clearly not somebody who has seen it. Maybe Jennifer Holland has.
Television didn't exist until Heated Rivalry came out. Just like how cinema didn't exist until Zack Snyder made Dawn of the Dead in 2006. You know?
Yeah. Well, I don't blame James Gunn for not having seen the show. But John, with that, let's talk about. We already talked about Man of Tomorrow. We've talked about Clayface, and now we're gonna finish things off on DCU Daily with the main story of the day. And I think this is more of a conversation topic because it's not necessarily breaking news, but I did want to pose this question, and it's an interesting article in comicbookmovie.com they put out today. It's a slower news day on the DC side, so they put out this like analysis piece, and I think they pose some good questions. Now, of course, we know Supergirl is going to be releasing next summer. You'd imagine. I mean, the idea is that they're giving Supergirl the big screen, big blockbuster treatment like she's never quite gotten before. But there was a report that Supergirl will potentially have reportedly will have a lower budget as compared to Superman. They're not saying it's going to have like a $50 million budget, but it didn't cost them as much as Superman did. Superman was closer to like, 200 million, 150, 200 like plus with marketing. And it looks like the budget and the marketing for Supergirl is going to be less than that. And the reason why is because DC is using that as a means to hopefully, get it to profitability a lot faster because they know this movie will probably not do as well as Superman did. And I mean, there's no reason that it can't do more than what Superman made. Like it could definitely make like 700, 800 million if it's that damn good. They've been saying that, Kara Zor-El being played by Millie Alcock is a generational performance. She's as good as Tony Stark playing Iron Man was, or Chris Evans as Captain America. So if that is true, and with Jason Momoa as Lobo, which I'll get to in a moment, maybe this movie does do as well, if not better than Superman did. But DC Studios, their bet and their prediction was that it wouldn't be as popular at the box office. Therefore, they gave it a smaller budget. They're probably not going to spend as much on marketing. But is that an issue? Is that a problem? Because they point out in this article, and I think it's a good point, and you guys tell me in the chat what you think. Supergirl from the trailer, again, and I will qualify this statement by saying we have only seen less than 2 minutes of the movie, and it's probably not even entirely finished. We're probably seeing unfinished VFX shots. We're probably seeing, shots that don't even have elements included. Like there might be, particle effects or, maybe entirely, missing some CGI characters. Sometimes they misdirect you in trailers intentionally. I don't think that's as popular. That's as common of a thing with DC as it is with Marvel. There's rumors out there that Avengers Doomsday teasers might have some things missing that Marvel is purposefully holding back, like they did for the Spider-Man No Way Home trailer, or like giving you a shot that's not going to be in the movie like they did with the Avengers Infinity War trailer back in the day. But all of that said, you can tell this Supergirl movie does not look as vibrant and as, just visually, visually glorious, visually just striking the way the Woman of Tomorrow comic book is. And I realize that it's a comic book. You can't exactly translate that in the live action sphere. But given that James Gunn made Guardians of the Galaxy, one of the most colorful sets of movies, some of the best movies in the entire history of the MCU. So you got to imagine, like, even though he's not directing this movie, Craig Gillespie, is that he would be able to put, some of his advice, on this, or like, give Craig Gillespie some guidance and be like, maybe this shot could use a bit more color. Maybe you can make this feel more cosmic. So I wonder if that has something to do with the budget, with the lower budget. Now, again, it's some of what I'm trying to say here might be a little hyperbolic because we don't know the exact numbers. We don't know how much less the budget is. They're saying it's not like it's Clayface levels lower than Superman. So it's not going to be like 40, 50 million. This is still 100 million plus, budget. And they're giving plenty of money to this movie. And they should be able to produce a pretty good end product. But just going off the limited evidence, aka the teaser trailer so far, it is interesting to see that the movie looks a little bland, and for a movie that's going to be entirely taking place, in the cosmos of the DCU, it feels a little one note at times. Like every alien world seems pretty similar. Krypton I love the Krypton that we got in the DCEU. We didn't get to see much of it, but what we did get to see was very different from what we've seen in the comics, and it looked fantastical. Like, it looked really cool. And it seems like, at least from what little we have seen so far from Supergirl, we're not quite seeing something that's super colorful, that's striking, and has the look of the comic. And again, you can't translate that one for one, but I do feel like you could do a better job than what we have seen so far. And again, maybe they didn't put their best foot forward, you know? That could be that. Jose is saying, I've seen color criticism for James Gunn movies, that color is a bad thing. The Enemy, lol, makes me laugh. M2G saying Superman isn't just colorful, it's extremely bright. Yeah, I mean, that's another way to look at it. I do think, though, like, again, based on just the trailers alone, and it's not just that. If you compare the first teaser of Superman, which granted was longer than the first teaser for Supergirl, and it probably showed more of the movie than they did with Supergirl, I do appreciate that James Gunn did so much practically. And granted, like, the kaiju was CGI. They didn't shoot that thing for real. So there's definitely a lot of CGI in even Superman, right? But they shot so much of it practically, and it kind of shows, like, there's tangibility, this sense of tangibility to Superman. And I just felt like there was a lot less of that with Supergirl. Now, again, nobody's expecting Supergirl to be the best comic book movie of 2026. It could be. Nobody's saying it can't be. It's possible, but nobody's expecting it to be. But I wonder if Craig Gillespie, who's done a great job with female-led, character-driven stories, was the right pick for this movie that's meant to be this cosmic adventure. Because if you go off the early reactions, if you believe them, if you talk about, the reactions people are, the insiders or people have seen the test screenings, what they're saying about Millie Alcock, they're saying she's great. The character stuff is great. But, like, for a movie, especially for this particular version of Supergirl, you want to have great character work, but you also want to have a visually striking, movie that blows you away with the visuals. And again, I don't want this to be the greatest superhero movie of all time. It doesn't need to even be as good as the Guardians of the Galaxy movies were, but it just feels like it's way off the mark. And John, I've just been trying to make the argument that does that have anything to do with the budget being lower? Like Caleb suggesting Gore Verbinski could have been a better pick for Supergirl. I don't know if they ever looked at him as an option, or if they just felt like he wouldn't be the right fit based on the script that they have read and we have not. But do you believe that maybe with the report out there and coming from pretty reliable sources that Supergirl has a lower budget? And again, they're not saying it's Clayface low. Like, Clayface is it's still 100 million plus, but it's not as high as Superman. Do you think that if that is true, then that plays a role in the movie not looking as good? And again, from the very little footage we have seen so far, and then B, do you think that's a mistake and a miscalculation on the part of DC? Because next year is going to be brutal in the summer months. We've got a lot of kids, like, animated movies, family movies that are coming out. And then you've got, like, Spider-Man No Way Home and Avengers Doomsday, and then, The Odyssey. And will Supergirl kind of get forgotten? Disclosure Day. Like, I'm going to go see that, Stacey. So again, John, it's kind of a long question, but what do you think about all this? Like, do you believe DC's making a mistake here?
I don't think so at all. No, definitely not. I don't think they're making a mistake, not even close to making any kind of mistake, because this is the proper way to go, because Supergirl is not nearly as big of a character. She's not nearly as popular. Hell, even Superman, who is popular, who is one of the most popular heroes of all time, still couldn't get to 1 billion because of whatever reason there was, because of a worldwide anti-American sentiment, whether it was just like people were not a fan of the movie, it was too different from what was before. Whatever the reasoning was, that was, that was whatever. So, like, I think it was from the get-go. I don't think they, like, obviously saw, how Superman was going and, like, adjusted accordingly, because that doesn't make sense, because they were already started filming by that point. So I think they, like, I think they just know that, like, they're just trying to play it safe in ways that are not, that don't hinder the quality. So like casting relative no names by, you know, not having the budgets be as astronomical as Disney throws at their movies, whether it's MCU, Star Wars, or otherwise.
I mean, but that doesn't always result in a superior product either. We've seen the Marvels, for example, or Ant-Man 3.
Because they see, you know, this character, they have a lot of hope for it. They love it a lot. They want this to be good, but they hire someone like Craig Gillespie. They hire someone like Millie Alcock, Matthias Schoenaerts. The biggest name you have is Jason Momoa, and he's a small character that's probably going to show up for no more than 15 minutes of the movie, and that's being nice. So in terms of the look, I think the basic matter is either one, they didn't want it to be exactly like the comic book, because remember, it's only inspired by, much like how Superman was inspired by Superman for All Seasons and All-Star Superman, not a straight adaptation, but heavily inspired, much like this is heavily inspired, more so inspired than Superman was with its two comics, but still inspired nonetheless. And I think they want it to be as different as possible, and they're going for more of a Mandalorian vibe. As I mentioned this before, they're going for more of a Mandalorian Western kind of vibe, where it's very brown and very dingy and very gritty, kind of like a very underbelly, underworld Western kind of feel to it, which is different. And the thing is, would I love to see it like Evely's art? Absolutely, because that art, say what you will about the comic, good, bad, or otherwise, the art is beautiful. Like, it's not my I don't I mean, my favorite comic book artist of all time is Alex Ross, but like, that's very different. There are some artists I love, some artists I hate, some artists I respect. Evely, I don't love immediately. Like her, like I can recognize it's good art. It's just like the way it's drawn. It's just like it's not totally pleasing to the eye for me. But I can respect the fact it's beautiful and colorful, and I really like that. But maybe they just don't want to totally copy everything from the comic. There's that. Maybe they want to have, as I said, more of a Western vibe. Or this is just Gillespie's vision. Maybe that, just like how, like, you know, grim, dark, depressing, and lifeless was Zack Snyder's vision for his movies. Do I like that vision? Not really, but that's his vision. I respect it. So he did his own thing with those movies, and that's fine. It's just, you know, it's a whole myriad of different shit, and it's just like, I think, you know, there's a lot of different reasons, but I don't think it's any of them are bad reasons. I think this is just its own thing, doing its own vision with a different filmmaker, and that's how it is. And I think that is pretty okay in my book. I'm still skeptical, considering I don't like Tom King. I haven't read I read the first like 3 pages of the comic. I, you know, got busy, so I couldn't finish it. But I, you know, I think, you know, I just think,
well,
I don't think it's like bad. I don't think it's innately bad. It's just in terms of preference, that's a whole nother conversation. But in terms of, I don't think it's bad just because it has a certain look to it.
You know, and some of what I'm saying is probably very hyperbolic, but it did, the tone did look a little dull. But I do admit, again, we have very limited evidence. There's like barely 2 minutes of footage we have seen so far. But you made another point that I want to quickly touch upon, and I think this is a good one to address here. And this is maybe even goes beyond Supergirl too, because in Supergirl you have Millie Alcock, who James Gunn has, you know, wanted for the role from like the moment he saw House of the Dragon, and he was like, we're gonna have a Supergirl in our, you know, new DCU. She's gonna be perfect to play Kara Zor-El, and I'm sure she's gonna do great. Everything we have heard so far is amazing. But she's not like an A-lister, right? She's done House of the Dragon. She's done some work in her native Australia. She's a good up-and-coming actress. She could be the next Daisy Ridley, but like, you know, and again, I mean that in the positive way. And then, you know, to, and with all due respect to Daisy Ridley. But in this movie in particular, we have talked about, as well as like even Superman, the DCU so far doesn't quite feature a lot of A-listers. And maybe, I mean, it seems like it's on purpose, because remember when they were doing this Brainiac, like casting rumors were coming out, and we were wondering, oh, the supposed shortlist included Matt Smith, you know, or what was the name? Sam, I'm forgetting. He was He was in this Iron Man 2. Why am I forgetting his name right now?
Sam Rockwell.
Sam Rockwell. Like, and then, you know, even before that, we have heard all kinds of rumors. Even now with Batman, oh yeah, we're gonna get like some big A-list or like some very well-known name potentially. Or with Wonder Woman, I'm sure the speculation would be similar. Logan's in the chat already predicting Supergirl will flop. But the point I'm trying to make is DC Studios so far seem to be shying away from almost purposefully bringing in any A-listers per se, because like I said, even in Superman, like Nicholas Hoult is probably the most well-known name in the movie. And, you know, he's a fringe A-lister. Nathan Fillion is a known name, but he's not really an A-lister. He's never quite reached those heights, at least not in the Hollywood movie sphere. So my question to you, John, is simple. Because in the new Supergirl film, the biggest name we have is Jason Momoa, who I think is an A-lister. But he's only, like you said, is going to have a very small cameo, maybe slightly more than a cameo as Lobo. And sure, we'll get to hopefully see him in his own thing down the road. But James going to said it many times. They want to be very budget conscious. They want to save money. But as but is that to the detriment of the DCU? Because if DC Studios is not casting a lot of these A-listers and it's early going, so maybe they're just being very conscious, and maybe that's what they need to do to make sure to deliver some hits, and maybe that's what, you know, like the Hollywood studio, the way the studios work nowadays, like a lot of big, you know, $200 million flops Disney has had recently and stuff. Even Warner Brothers until this year had a you know, pretty rough go of it since the pandemic. So maybe this is their way of saving money, because you don't have to pay a big fee to a big A-list actor. But I do gotta wonder, like James Gunn did work in the MCU, and so he's familiar with how Kevin Feige thinks. And Kevin Feige, for, you know, all the hate he gets about the last few years of the MCU, still gave us everything that came before it. And then who knows what the future holds. But the early days of the MCU had Samuel L. Jackson. They had, you know, Nick Fury being played by Samuel L. freaking Jackson. They had Anthony Hopkins playing Odin. They brought Tommy Lee Jones. And I'm just talking phase 1. You know, even before you get to phase 2 and Robert Redford walks in the door in Captain America, the Winter Soldier and whatnot. Do you think it's a mistake? Or do you think, like, for example, if you remember, Josh Brolin was the first pick to play, what am I talking blanking right now? The Green Lantern. And the Hal Jordan version of Green Lantern, which now Kyle Chandler is playing. And there's a big difference between the star power of Josh Brolin and Kyle Chandler, and that is with all the respect in the world for Kyle Chandler and the work that he's done over the years. So do you think it's on purpose that they're going with lesser known names, or do you think it's a reflection that maybe not as many A-listers want to work with DC? Is that a reflection on the current DC Studios brass, or is it just superhero movies are not what they used to be? I'm just trying to this is a very wide-ranging question, but what do you think is behind DC's seemingly on purpose almost avoidance of bringing in well-known names? Does it even have to do with the fact that, I don't know, maybe these movies are IP driven, we've talked about it, and Hollywood star power doesn't quite translate the way that it used to at the box office? Is that what it is?
Mm-hmm. It could be that, and I think maybe James Gunn has that in mind, because, you know, it's essentially what Enterprise is saying. It's not about forcing the actor to fit the role. It's about the it's forcing the role to fit the actor. It's about the actor fitting the role. Like, you can, like, oh, Odin? Yeah, I fucking imagine Sir motherfucking Anthony motherfucking Hopkins doing that role. Yeah, he's not of Norse ancestor descendants, but, like, you know, it's Sir motherfucking Anthony fucking Hopkins. I could see him as Odin. Like, Tommy Lee Jones, gritty soldier general. Yeah, I can fucking imagine. Stanley Tucci, Abraham Erskine, he was fucking in that, you know, nailing that as well. You know, like, that's like, I think both are right. I think having big actors in supporting roles maybe kind of helped prop it up again, gave it more esteem a bit, like gave it a little bit more. But the thing is, that's not always the way to go. That's not always, oh, we have to do it this way. So, you know, it's definitely, I see both points. Like, I've seen both points to, there's pros and cons of how DCU is doing things, pros and cons of how MCU is doing things. It just kind of depends on what the outlook is. So it's definitely, I think I would prefer the MCU, like phase 1 MCU way of doing things, but I see what like James Gunn is. So it's like, who's this guy? Good. We're not going to be focused like, oh my God, that's Ray Fiennes playing Brainiac. It's like, this is Brainiac. Like, that's the whole thing. Kind of like the guy on Krypton. No fucking clue who that dude was. I don't even know the actor's name. I don't fucking know what else he's been in. I don't know his filmography. I have not heard of this dude since then. Not heard his voice. Not seen his face. I don't know. But I know for this, he was a fucking amazing Brainiac, even though he was stuck on this little niche fucking sci-fi show. So there's that. Like, it's sometimes it's just like you see a dude and they're like, holy fuck, this dude's perfect, put him in a fucking movie. Like when they saw Chris Hemsworth, who was only known in Australia at this point. Sound familiar?
Hey, and Millie Alec,
and they're like, and
he was a soap star.
What became of that? Look, he's still
Henry Cavill was a soap star.
He's still he's still a star, and he's like the star of his own teaser for a 5th Avengers movie. Boom, there you go. Just goes to show how relevant he still is. So it's saying a lot for how like these guys are doing things, and it's just sometimes it's just how they fit. Like I remember like when the whole thing was released, how Tom Hiddleston really wanted to be Thor to the point he dressed him auditioned. Up, and they had test footage of him, and it just didn't look right, and they picked Chris Hemsworth, and it worked. And then on top of the fact, they're like, you know, this make him Loki. And then fucking their motherfucking rest is history. Look at him now. Still playing the role after 14 years. It's just, you know, it's just how this shit happens. And I mean, the most that Henry Cavill, I think it was in Tudors. That was like the biggest thing in like the Immortals, I think. And that was it.
Yeah. Well, you're right. And Christopher Reeve too back in the day. Yeah. Patrick, hey Patrick.
Yeah, Christopher Reeve, exactly.
And look, guys, I'm not trying to be like the Debbie Downer here or play the. We're just having a conversation, right? I think it's good to examine, you know, from both sides, because for all we know, like you said, like there's some really good points to the contrary. Yeah. By the way, Clayface is happening. There's no
Clayface is happening. Like, get out of here! Come on.
Yeah. But like you guys were saying in the chat too, you guys have some really good points. Like it's more about, like John was saying, and you were going off of Enterprising, talking about finding the right actor that fits the role. And also, I think multiple of you guys in the chat, like MTG pointed out a couple of instances. Isabella Merced, she's actually a rising star. Like between the Last of Us, what she's done with Superman now, as part of the DCU with the Superman movie, and she's got just a ton of other projects. She's a rising star. She's come a long way since that Michael Bay 5th Transformers movie. But then also Millie Alcock is another rising star. I mean, you could say Aaron Pierre is also a rising star. And occasionally you do get a big, I mean, Jason Momoa is an A-lister. Bradley Cooper is now canonically Jor-El in the DCU. So I'm sure we'll get to see him do maybe at least one more cameo. Maybe he'll have a cameo in Supergirl too. So yeah, I mean, look, and again, I'm not trying to be the Debbie Downer. I'm just saying right now, early goings, only 2 movies in, there seems to be less. And then I think Ron made a good point, because I was saying there seems to be less interest from A-listers. Like Josh Brolin turned down the role. But maybe the DCU movies just need to, you know, do really well and become hits, and then the stars will come. And that's very true of what happened with the MCU. That's why Robert Redford was in the second Captain America movie. That's why Glenn Close was in the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie. Like Benicio del Toro was in the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie. Jeff Goldblum was in the Thor Ragnarok. Like all of these big name actors started showing up once the MCU was the biggest name in town. I'm not saying the DCU needs to become the biggest name in town, but yeah, I think you guys are making great points here that, you know, the stars will come. Somebody like a Naomi Scott will probably sign up for she's probably a little too petite for the role, but nonetheless, it is look. I'm just posing a question.
Tom Cruise,
that's all.
He's like 5 foot nothing. He's an action star. They can make it work.
Well, because Tom Cruise will do his own action. He's gonna do his own stunts. That's why. But anyway, I think it's just worth examining, because there's been some negative hype around Supergirl. People just kind of playing down how good or maybe not good the movie is going to be. But again, we've only seen less than 2 minutes of the movie so far, probably with a lot of unfinished shots that will look better when the actual movie comes out. But it is, you know, there are some early signs of like DC. Again, I think it's on purpose that they don't have a lot of A-listers, but they do have a lot of young stars. It's kind of like that thing. If you're building a new sports franchise, do you want to start with like the biggest superstars you can find and build your team around that? Or do you want to get young rising stars who will grow into their stardom and your team will be good and they'll be good for a longer period of time? I think that's, if you look at it that way, then I think DC is doing exactly what they need to do. So all of that said, again, success begets more success, and hopefully, as you know, Superman did, Supergirl will be ahead at the box office, and then if Clayface does well, then from then onwards, you know, whether it's Batman or whether it's Wonder Woman, or any of the other future DC projects, whether they're on the big screen or the small screen, hopefully they will attract, you know, even, you know, more interest from other bigger actors. So the next time we have a roll up for somebody the caliber of Josh Brolin, he says, I want in, kind of like Scarlett Johansson told Matt Reeves, I want in on the Batman Part 2. And I think the DCU will get there. We're just not there yet, maybe. But they'll have to earn their way there, much like the MCU did, which is great. So we'll have to wait and see how things play out. We don't have a Zelda movie update, Stacy, but we'll keep an eye out for it. I can't wait for that movie, by the way. Zelda, my corgi, she's doing great. She's sleeping. So, and I've been put off screen.
Sorry.
But anyway, I was just gonna say, I think this is it for the night in terms of DCU Daily. We aren't done yet in terms of the shows on the channel. We do have Fancast Friday coming up, so do stick. Oh, actually, Tier List Tuesday, I should say, is Tuesday. Fancast Friday will be on Friday. So we've got that coming up. The top 10 movies of the year as chosen by you as the topic. So we'll go through that in a minute. But before we do, I wanted to go through some updates on what to expect from the channel next year. So hopefully you guys will stick around for this. It won't take very long. But if you have been watching the channel for a while, then you guys know that, you know, we're, for at least the last couple of years, been doing 5 days a week. We're live Monday through Friday. And it's great. I mean, we're able to cover all the news as it breaks and such. But it's also tiring. And it's also a situation where, you know, you can have burnout because doing it 5 days a week, it's like, it's all consuming. You're just constantly, you do it, you know, you go to sleep, you wake up, you do the research, and it takes, you know, hours of work during the day to get to the point where we are doing the show at night, to research the topics, to work on the graphics, set everything up. All of that said, what I want to do, and we're going to be making some changes in the next year, in the new year, starting in January. For January and February, this is a bit experimental, so you guys can give us your feedback and see if this is working for you or not. But usually slower days for news, so we're going to stick to doing Monday, Tuesday, and Friday shows. So Wednesday and Thursday we'll, you know, won't be live, but that doesn't mean we won't have any content on the channel. We're going to do more shorts. We're going to be bringing in more editorial videos, some more video essays, and then we're also going to be adding more content to our membership. The membership did a bit of a soft launch this year, but we haven't been able to give it as much time, or, you know, add more content there, give you guys more reason to sign up for the membership, and we're looking to, you know, add to that. So we're going to take that time on those Wednesdays and Thursdays in January and February to, you know, rest our voices, and then also at the same time put some of that extra free time towards creating more content and updating the graphics, and you really just trying to, like, you know, improve the quality of the show. So we're still going to be live Mondays with DCU Daily. We're going to be live Tuesday with DCU Daily and Tier List Tuesday, and then Wednesday and Thursday, if there's anything big that breaks, if there's really big breaking news, we can always go live. I'm not saying we won't be able to go live, but Friday you will see us back for DCU Daily and Fancast Friday. So kind of like what we did last week with Christmas and this week with New Year's, we're going to kind of stick with that schedule, Monday, Tuesday, Friday. We're just trying this out for, you know, January, February, and see how well it works, because, you know, tends to be a slower time for movie news anyway, but as things pick up, we're going to be back to 5 days a week. Unless, you know, things work out really well. I don't know, if you guys just like us being live 3 days a week, we'll do that. But the idea is that we're trying to both give, you know, ourselves a bit of a breather, because, you know, YouTube is could be rough on you some, because it's just, you're constantly working on things. And John and I do, you know, like to spend time with our friends and family, and like, so this will give us a bit of a chance to do more of that, which I hope you guys appreciate. But you won't be missing us for too long, because you'll still be live plenty of times. Probably, like, you know, the shows might even be longer than they are now. Who knows? I don't know. We'll see. But the point is, we want to try a few new things in the beginning of the year, and then we'll still be here with you. So I just wanted to kind of give you guys an update, and then hopefully all of that means that the channel will keep on growing. You guys have been amazing this year, and we appreciate you. We wouldn't be able to do it without you, and we hope you're gonna stick with us, and hit the like button, like Enterprising is saying there. Hit the notification bell if you've already subscribed. If you haven't, then hit the subscribe button. We will be here live 3 days a week for the next few weeks, and then the goal is to, again, as the summer movie season picks up, you got the Odyssey, you got Spider-Man No Way Home, Supergirl, Clayface.
Brand new day.
I will get it right eventually. Brand new day. And
you're gonna get the title right, and you're gonna remember Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3's villain name eventually.
Eventually, I will eventually get there. See, this is the burnout part, right? Like, guys, we're live 5 days a week, 52 weeks a year. You can't imagine, like, I mean, I'm sure you guys can imagine, like, it's kind of like going to your work, 5 days a week, but John and I also do other things during the day. So, like, that's why we're live at night, and also prepping the show. So as you guys know, that's part of it. So it just gives us a bit of a respite for a few weeks, and then we're still here. We'll have more polls on the channel. There'll be other stuff happening. So the goal is to sort of like, pull back a little bit on the live shows, and that will hopefully help us build up some other aspects of it. And then we'll be back to 5 days a week by the time we get to the bigger, the summer movie season, like I said, which, let's be honest, the summer movie season doesn't start in June anymore. It's basically April, May, we're back into it. So, but yeah, just wanted to make sure that was something that doesn't come out of the blue, for you guys. So just wanted to let you guys know now. But yeah, and I'll repeat this again on Friday, probably in a more summarized manner. But with that said, John, I think it's time for us to wrap up DCU Daily, and that way we can hop across to Tier List Tuesday, the top 10 movies of the year. We've got honorable mentions. It's going to be a fun show. So we're not done yet, not anywhere close to being done. You guys should definitely join us on that show, especially if you voted for that topic. So we'll see you there. If you don't see you there, have a Happy New Year, and we'll see you on Friday with the first episode of the year with DCU Daily, and then we'll see you with Fancast Friday there. But remember, don't forget to look up, look out, and yeah, blessed from the start, best at the end. We'll see you in 2026.
It's another project that's been blessed from the beginning.
There's the shot right there. That.
Okay, we don't need to see chorus.
Right there.
Hey, buddy. Eyes up here.
Now you want to get nuts? Let's get nuts. Here we go.
Victory mine. Ask me how am I doing? I'm telling you, really, I'm doing sublime. I never wait in a stewardess line. I just go do it. I'm moving my time. Really had nothing to do with it. How am I moving? I'm moving like you want to shine. Follow my lead. Don't listen to lies. I had to put me all on the line. That's why I know that victory's mine.
I prefer Jared Leto. Hunka hunka!
And remember, fuck Jeff Snyder and fuck Tom King.